الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. All right. So last time we began doing what? Breaking down the technical meaning of. Hmm? We're way past that, man. we're way past that. It's the word Quran, right? And what do we say about this definition? There are 6 components to the definition, 6 elements, all right? And the function of a definition is to provide us with enough detail so that we know when something falls under that category versus something that is similar but does not fall under that category, right? So we want to know what is the Quran, especially in comparison to other things out there that might compare to the Quran, like the Torah and the Injil and Hadith Qudsi, sacred Hadith, all right? So we did the first 3 components, and today we're going to start with the 4th. And that is, it was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. So the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Quran is the speech of Allah, but there are other things that are the speech of Allah as well, like Hadith Qudsi, like Quran, like Injil, like Torah, right? So being revealed to the Prophet ﷺ excludes those, despite them overlapping in different ways. Also, there are things that were revealed to the Prophet ﷺ that's not the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what we call hadith. Hadith in general, not hadith Qudsi. Hadith in general is a form of wahi, as we'll get to here in a little bit. Right? It is a form of wahi. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what the Prophet ﷺ says in hadith, right, his statements are an extension of revelation. But it's not the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not Allah who is saying it. It's the Prophet ﷺ who's saying it. It's his words, his word choices. All right. So this includes hadith. It excludes the Torah and the Injil. Includes hadith, but other aspects of the definition excludes hadith, right? And then 5th, it through the angel Jibreel. Right, through the angel Jibreel. Can you all hear me online?
Yeah.
Yes, Sheikh, I can hear you now too. I had to restart my computer.
All right. Meaning, in order for something to be part of the Quran, it must have been revealed through the angel Jibreel, alayhi salam. All right. Now, there are forms of wahi that are given through Jibreel, but are not part of Quran, right? Like Hadith Qudsi. Maybe Hadith Qudsi. It could be from Jibreel, it could be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like maybe certain what has come to us through hadith, Jibreel coming to the Prophet and telling him something that's not in the Quran. Right? Allah tells you do this, don't do that, right? But the Quran does not mention it. So this includes some hadith, right? Jibreel is involved in one way or another. What this excludes is dreams. Okay, dreams. What am I talking about here? The Prophet ﷺ says the dreams of prophets is a form of wahi. What the prophets see in dreams is from Allah. It's a form of revelation, right? But not having come through Jibreel alayhi salam, it means it's not going to be part of the Quran. And as far as I'm aware, there's not a single verse of the Quran that has come to the Prophet through a dream. Right? This is non-existent, as far as I know. Now, personally, I don't think number 5 is necessary to be part of the definition because there are verses, we assume there are verses that have come to the Prophet directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without Jibreel alayhi salam. Right? As we'll get to, I believe in the next chapter, sometimes Allah would reveal Quran to the Prophet directly, to his heart directly. Right? Or in the Isra and Mi'raj, maybe some verses came to him while he was talking directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But anyway, this is what's in the book, so we'll follow it. And then finally, the last component is it has reached us through mass transmission, mutawatir. Or what's called mass transmission. I'm assuming in ulum hadith you haven't gotten to mutawatir yet, right? Okay, so let me explain it to you very simply. If somebody were to enter this room right now and say, don't take 57 South because the highway is fully blocked due to an accident between two cars, a black Honda Civic and a white Toyota Corolla, right? That information, should we believe it? Forget Google Maps right now. Some random person comes in, we don't know who they are, and they give you this information to you. How reliable is that information?
No.
Maybe not, right? You'd assume, why would someone make up that lie? But at the same time, is it possible they're lying? Yes, okay. Now imagine 5 minutes later, another random person comes in. And these two random people, they don't know each other either. So the second random person comes and says, don't take the 57 South. The highway is blocked due to an accident between the black Honda Civic and a white Toyota Corolla. Now what do we say about the information? Why? Reliable? Why?
It's two separate.
Just because two people are saying it? Why not to lie together? Close.
In your scenario, you said they don't know each other.
They don't know each other.
So it's impossible that two random people come and say the same exact thing.
It's impossible for two random people to make up the same exact lie with that amount of detail, right? It's just unfathomable. Two random individuals making up the same exact lie. That's just statistically not possible, right? This is the idea of mass transmission, mutawatir, that a hadith has been narrated so many times by so many different people in different areas who have never met each other. And they're saying the same exact thing about the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. What is the likelihood that they're just making this up? In fact, I like what one professor says. He says, in order to deny hadith is to have faith in this idea that all these tens of thousands of people narrating hadith over the course of centuries from different areas are collaborating and lying. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. This has now become an issue of faith. Like, you have to believe that this is the case. It's like Israel. The president says something, the prime minister says something else. opposite, and they're right next to each other, right? So this is the idea of mass transmission. If a hadith, a statement of the Prophet said X, Y, and Z is being shared across the board, right? Then it is impossible for that to have been made up. All right. Yeah. So that's the idea of mutawatir. Now that going back to the Quran, yeah, the idea is the Quran has been memorized and been taught by so many people in so many different locations over such a long period of time that this idea that this is made up, right, is not even an argument that could be made. It's not a serious argument. All right. So these are the 6 components of the Quran. Are there any questions about it? Siraj?
I had a question about hadith being wahi. Does that mean that everything the Prophet said, looking the Prophet, is considered wahi, or just things that were here?
We'll get to that here in just a second. Next chapter. Any other questions? Yeah.
Someone say, like, in the case of hadith, that, well, like, it was a few of the same teachers who, or like this Sahaba, that then went to those different places. So they, collaborated on whatever they taught all the students. And that's what people, like, is that a, like, an argument some people make?
I'm sure that's an argument some people make. It does, again, it goes back to they had to have collaborated, colluded on lying. Well, if you look at the companions, how they were, it's not their personalities. They disagreed with each other. No, the Prophet said, no, he just said this. And they fought amongst each other. What? Like, it doesn't make any sense for them to have collaborated that much. Right? Just like those who say, they collaborated to, it's a good example. Those who say that Muslim male scholars collaborate to keep women down. I mean, it's just such a silly argument when you actually look at the books and see what people are saying and diversity of opinions. Were there some scholars who may have been like really mad at their wife, so they took it out and like their anger came out in these books? Yeah, possibly. But you'll find other opinions that completely disagree with it, right? Any other questions? All right. So the next chapter, the chapter of Wahi, revelation. So the word Wahi comes from the root Waha, right? Waha. And Waha means to reveal something or to inspire it in a way that's quick and difficult to sense. It's very subtle, right? So technically, Wahi, based on the linguistic definition, is not unique to divine elements, right? So, for example, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Zakaria, Prophet Zakaria, when Allah gave him the news of Yahya coming, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, express your gratitude by fasting. So he began his fast, and when he went out, he wanted to tell his disciples, his pupils, or the others there to increase their gratitude to Allah. But because he was fasting, their form of fasting was not speaking. So he had to do it through, sign language, so to speak. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this as فَأَوْحَى إِلَيْهِمْ أَنْ سَبِّحُوا بُكْرَةً وَعَشِيًّا. Zakaria did wahi to those around him to do dhikr of Allah, increase their dhikr of Allah in the morning hours and the evening hours. And Allah uses the word wahi, right? Meaning he inspired them in a way that's subtle, non-direct, to increase their gratitude. And wahi isn't unique to religious elements. It could also be worldly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَىٰ النَّحْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا وَمِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَمِمَّا يَعْرُشُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that Allah inspired the bee to take their homes in the homes of man, in trees and in mountains. Right? Allah inspired the bee to do that, using the word wahi. Now, as a technical definition, Shaitan doesn't give us a technical definition. So anyway, to make it technical, all you do is add certain components of what we just went over, that wahi is Allah inspiring or revealing to the Prophet something that has to do with the religion, right? And this isn't exclusive to the Quran. Under wahi is Quran and hadith. Quran is wahi and hadith is also wahi. Quran, obviously, so why is hadith considered a wahi? Well, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the Prophet, he doesn't speak from his whims. What he says is coming from wahi, right? إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. What he is saying is coming from wahi, inspiration. So that includes any hadith. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he acted as he was acting in his capacity as a prophet, and other times he was acting in his capacity as a human. Right? So, for example, when the Prophet, so it is well known that the Prophet's favorite piece of lamb, or a favorite cut of lamb, is the shoulder. He preferred that. He liked it. Now, did he like it because that's what Allah told him to eat, or because he himself, that was his personal preference? It was his personal preference, right? He was acting in his human capacity. This is simply what he enjoyed. Okay, well, why does that matter? It matters because it's not then to be considered part of the Sharia. We're not going to say it's sunnah to eat the shoulder cut of the lamb because the Prophet ate it. No, he ate it because that's his own personal preference. It doesn't make it a sunnah. Versus, for example, the siwak. Right? The Prophet ﷺ used to love to brush his teeth frequently with the siwak. Now, if the Prophet were to have just been observed doing this, right, without saying anything about it, at that point, is he acting in his capacity as a prophet or a human? As a human. But he did say, had it not been too difficult for my community or the ummah, if it wasn't too difficult for you all, I would command you to, do siwak, to brush your teeth with eat salah. Right? So what is this telling us? That this is more than just a personal preference. Right? It is a sunnah. So what we consider to be wahi is when the Prophet ﷺ is acting in his capacity as a prophet, not as a human being. Right? So, as you go through hadith, hopefully you'll pick up on this. And it's very important because sometimes people take certain things the Prophet does and they think it's sunnah when it's not sunnah. So for example, this thobe right here. This is not sunnah clothing. You might go to Google sunnah clothing and you get a website called Sunnah Clothing and you'll see all this stuff on it, right? This is not sunnah clothing. This is Middle Eastern clothing. If Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab were living today, they'd be wearing this, right? The Prophet ﷺ wore what the kuffar were wearing of his time. There's no difference, right? So those who come and, they're walking around Spectrum Mall in a thobe and a kufi, right, going around Nordstrom, shopping, more power to them, but you're not doing the sunnah. This isn't sunnah, right? You have the freedom to wear it, go for it, right? But it's not sunnah. Yeah. Now, the only people who receive wahi are prophets. So when the scholars try to define what makes someone a prophet, the critical component is wahi. Somebody who receives wahi, in the technical meaning of this term, is a prophet. Some said it's Jibreel. If Jibreel comes to someone, that is what makes them a prophet, because that is wahi. And it's from there, some people try to make the argument that Maryam alayhi salam was a prophet, although it's a very, very, very minority opinion. I think there's only a few scholars who said that. But nonetheless, it's there. However, the stronger definition or the stronger component is that of wahi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to this individual something that is meant to be shared and something that's meant to be applied in people's lives. It is obligatory upon them. And this comes from the verse that you see on the bottom of page 7. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it's not for any human being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should speak to him except by revelation or from behind a partition, or that he sends a messenger to reveal by his permission what he wills. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is most high and wise. This is towards the end of Surah Al-Shura. What's that? Yeah, that's right. Surah is 42. Good catch. All right. So with that, if you see on page 8, there are types of wahi. Now, people always get confused with this because, to be honest, it's kind of confusing. Here, Sheikh Farhan provides with 2 different categories of how he's going to analyze wahi. One are the types of wahi. The other is how it was received, or I should say sent. Right? And then afterwards comes the stages of revelation and all this. So just pay attention. I'm consistent in my questions. If I say the types of wahi, remember the types of wahi versus how wahi came to the Prophet versus the stages of wahi. Right? So types of wahi. Type 1. You have, it is inspired directly to the Prophet ﷺ's heart, right? Directly to the Prophet. As I said, one example of this is dreams, right? He sees it through his dreams, or does he? Which I'll explain here in the next section. It could be through the ringing of bells. Again, I'll get to that here in the next portion. So these are coming directly to the Prophet, seemingly without the angel Jibreel being involved. That's why I said in the definition of the Quran is really the component of the angel Jibreel alayhi salam necessary. The second type is the direct speech of Allah. And as far as I know, there's only one time where there was direct speech. What is it? With the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. There's only one incident, as far as I remember, where Allah spoke directly to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The Mi'raj, right? The Isra and Mi'raj. Where the Prophet received the command for Salah. It was behind the veil. The Prophet did not see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something that began spreading amongst the companions. The Prophet see Allah. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said, she asked the Prophet if he saw Allah. in the Isra and Mi'raj, and he said, Nurun anna yura. Hijabuhu nur anna yura. The Prophet said his hijab is made of light. How can he be seen? Right? He doesn't have the ability. But in the afterlife, in the next life, in Jannah, we will be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is agreed upon between the various theological schools that are orthodox. All right. And then finally, through Jibreel alayhi salam, which is predominantly the way the Quran came to the Prophet. Right? So you have these three types of wahi. Now, under these types of wahi are different ways it came to him. As I gave you examples, directly to the Prophet, dreams and ringing of bells, mi'raj, etc. We'll see some of that here. So now what we're going to talk about is how it came to him. The first one way, this is in no particular order. One way is true dreams. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about dreams. What's the deal with dreams? In Islam, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that there are three types of dreams that a believer sees. One dream, one type is from the shaitan. We call them nightmares, right? We've all experienced them, we've all seen them. These are from the shaitan. And he says, if you see a dream from the shaitan, when you wake up, dry blow over your left shoulder and switch your position of sleeping, right? Even more, if you want to go a little bit beyond that, get up, make wudu, and pray 2 rakahs and go back to sleep. This advice of turning and getting up, etc., is meant to break the dream cycle. You know how sometimes you're dreaming, you wake up and you go back to sleep, you re-enter the same dream, right? So to break that dream cycle from the shaitan, you move around a little bit, so you kind of gain an amount of consciousness that breaks the dream cycle, and then you go back to sleep so that you're not bothered by it anymore, right? So that one type is from the shaitan. So the shayateen have the ability to affect our dreams. Now, just for the sake of discussion, because it's relevant, how? Right? What is this non-scientific stuff? Now, always remember, just because science hasn't discovered it yet does not mean it doesn't exist. Most of human history, they had no idea what an atom was, right? So just because it hasn't been discovered doesn't mean it cannot be discovered or it doesn't exist. Now, jinn, as described in the Quran, are created from a smokeless flame, right? They're created from a smokeless flame. We human beings are created from dirt. Why does Allah mention these things in the Quran? What's the deal? Like, why is it important for us to know? The reason it's important for us to know is because we retain the properties of what we were created from. So us being created from dirt mixed with water becomes mud, and if it dries out, it becomes clay. And clay is a solid. It cannot change. Physically, its form cannot change. If you try changing the physical form of clay, what happens to it? It breaks. Similar with us, right? It breaks. We are a physical property that we can depend on looking the same tomorrow and after. Whereas fire, when you look at fire, does it have a particular form? No, when you look at fire, right, it's changing. And it's very fast. If you actually look at fire, it's quick. Hence, the jinn don't have a particular physical form. And they're very fast. And fire, right, is a source of energy. And the way it interacts with solids is different than the way a solid interacts with solids. Right? If you were to walk into this wall, you're going to be stopped. But if fire begins to impact the wall, sooner or later you'll feel it on the other side, right? It'll become hot because energy is not stopped by solids the way solids are. All right. So that's very important because when you think of things like, black magic, the evil eye, dreams, and the shayateen's influence on these things, it begs the question, how? And the answer is they are a source of energy that can impact us as a solid. When you think of UV rays, right? Say, for example, that's emitted by the sun. Too much sun exposure is going to do what to the human being? Or even worse, right? It could cause cancer. When you go and get an x-ray at the dentist or a doctor, what do they put on you? The big lead vest. Why? I don't see anything. Why are they putting that on you? Which is a form of energy, right? Radiation is a type of energy. So there are types of energy that science has already discovered that they know is toxic to the human being and harmful. Well, similarly, the jinn are a form of energy that can be toxic and harmful to the human being, right? So they can manipulate dreams, they can, whisper to you, they can harm you in certain ways that is undetectable. Just like you cannot detect UV rays and cancerous radiations, right? Although it's there, you can't detect it. Same thing with the jinn. You cannot detect it. Our eyes do not have they cannot detect the wavelength at which these jinn are functioning, or the sound waves at which these jinn are functioning. Allahu A'lam. This is just my opinion, right? I am theory crafting here. So don't say it's Quran and Sunnah, but in theory, there's nothing at odds with science or what science has already accepted. Okay, so that's one form of dream from the shaitan. The second form of dream is called Adghaf Ahlam, as mentioned in Surah Yusuf. Adghaf Ahlam. This is just your subconscious projecting images in your mind while you sleep, right? It has no meaning, so there's nothing there.
Sorry, you said something about Surah Yusuf. This has
Yeah. In Surah Yusuf, they mentioned Adghaf Ahlam to the king when he saw the sheep. I'm sorry, the cows and the corn. They told him, "Oh, this is just your subconscious speaking to you. It has no meaning." So that's the second type of dream. The third type of dream is called a ru'ya or a manam, a dream from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. And these dreams have meanings. And they tend to revolve around giving you glad tidings of something good to come, giving you glad tidings of something that was accepted from you. You did a good deed, Allah accepts it from you. So he shows you in a dream that it's been accepted one way or another. Or he is cautioning you of something so that you protect yourself. All right. And the way this works is the following. Allah will tell an angel to show you something. All right. Allah will tell an angel to show you something in a dream that contains these meanings. And in dreams are very symbolic. They're not literal like conscious life. They are symbolic. So what you see are symbols that have meaning, right? So for example, milk. If you see yourself drinking milk in a dream, milk is symbolic of something. Okay, what is it symbolic of? In this life, when is milk most consumed? In infancy, right? What does milk do to that child, to the infant in their growth? Right? Milk contains the properties that allows growth to happen in a healthy way, right? So all human beings are the foundation of their physical growth is milk. Now, symbolically, in a dream, you're talking about what realm? You're talking about the spiritual realm. Milk is symbolic then of spiritual growth, of the fitrah. So someone who sees themselves drinking milk, they are consuming that which is good for their iman. So it tends to be interpreted as knowledge. Tends to be interpreted as knowledge. Someone sees themselves drinking milk and that milk tastes good, they are taking in knowledge of Islam. And that knowledge is helping the growth and development of their iman. All right. So Allah tells the angel, show so-and-so this. The angel goes and shows them that. Now, the Prophet ﷺ says, the more honest, the more truthful a person is, the more truthful their dreams are. What does that mean? What it means is the following. When the angel shows the human being something, it is being delivered to them through their heart. Right? The angel is delivering this message through their hearts. And depending on the state of that person's heart, it either keeps the message pure as it was revealed, or if the heart is tainted, it taints the message. And then they see it in a way that's not reflective of how it's actually meant. All right? So if you can imagine, you have like a white piece of cloth, and you're walking through a very toxic, a lot of air pollution. What's going to happen to the white piece of cloth? It's going to change color, right? Similarly, if a person's heart is tainted, has an amount of spiritual corruption, when a dream comes to them that's actually true, their heart corrupts that dream, and then like what's happening? I don't really see the message, right? Or it becomes a little bit vague, obscured. Allahu A'lam. So this is what's happening in dreams. What does this have to do with the Prophet ﷺ? As I mentioned, and as is being mentioned here, the dreams of prophets are wahi. Why? This is very important. Because someone comes and says, what Ibrahim did or attempted to do with Ismail, to slaughter him based on a dream that he saw, how can we accept that? Why would Allah tell a prophet to kill his own son? If someone came and said, I saw a dream that's telling me to kill my child, what would we say about this person?
Get that child away.
It's exactly what we do, right? Child Protective Services will come. And rightfully so, right? Does that make sense? Okay, well, we have a problem now. How can Ibrahim do this? Now, your initial feeling would be to deny it. No, this didn't happen. It's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ. Ibrahim literally tells his son, I saw in a dream that I'm slaughtering you. And Ismail understood what it meant as well. That literally Allah is commanding Ibrahim to slaughter him. And he said, Oh my father, do what you were commanded. Okay, we have a problem. We still have a problem here, right? So some people will come and say, Ibrahim misunderstood the dream. Or that the dream was actually from the shaitan. It wasn't from Allah. And Ibrahim misunderstood it. Okay, hold on. If the shaitan can interfere in the consciousness of a prophet, how do we know he didn't interfere with what he is claiming to be revelation? Right? You see the point? If the shaitan can impact what the Prophet ﷺ is receiving, he can impact his dreams, he can impact his consciousness. How do I know that what we are reciting is actually from Allah and not from the shaitan? It completely undermines the concept of revelation. Right? So the dreams of prophets are wahi. because the prophets are preserved from the interjection, interference of the shayateen. Altogether. They cannot interfere with what's going on with the Prophet. They can't. That's why the Prophet, and excuse the nature of this, the prophets don't have what dreams?
Prophets cannot have experiences.
Yeah. Anything they see is from Allah. Anything. They don't even have the second category of ahlam, subconscious dreams. Right? So the shayateen cannot impact the physiology, the biology, the psychology of prophets. They can't. Prophets are preserved. So that there's no interference with the wahi process. Similarly, when the angels come down with, when they would come down with verses, when Jibreel would come down with verses, Allah would protect that process of going from the heavens to the Prophet ﷺ. And this is mentioned, right? The shuhub. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. We made the shooting stars as something to protect, to hit the shayateen as they try and interfere with the process of revelation. Right? In Surah Al-Jinn, it's very beautifully articulated. Right? وَأَنَّا لَمَسْنَا السَّمَاءَ فَوَجَدْنَاهَا مُلِئَتْ حَرَسًا شَدِيدًا وَشُهُبًا. وَأَنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي أَشَرٌ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا. It explains it all. And when the jinn all of a sudden they're looking at the sky, this is very beautiful, a very beautiful hadith. So, the jinn are trying to cause their problems, right? And they go do this and they go do that and they go up in the heavens to try and get to spy on the angels and get some news of something that happened. They're doing their thing. And then all of a sudden they're looking at the sky and they're seeing the sky is very active. They're shooting stars at an increased rate, going left and right. And anytime they try to go up, immediately they'll be blasted. So they don't know what's going on. They go to Iblis. They say, Iblis, this is what's happening. There is a lot more activity in the heavens. And Iblis, in his however many millennia of experience, he says there's something going on earth, go look around, go find out what's happening. So they're looking, and where do they go? They go to Mecca and they find somebody saying La ilaha illallah, the Prophet ﷺ. So this is all happening. Why? So that when revelation, Quran comes down, nothing can interfere in it. All right? So this is why whatever the Prophet saw is revelation. He is preserved from being influenced by the shaitan and from his subconscious affecting, his what he understands from Allah in revelation. So he will see dreams. But again, as far as I'm aware, dreams are never translated into verses of the Quran. I don't know of a verse that came as a result of seeing a dream. Well, a lot of hadith are from dreams. Right? There's no shortage of that. The Prophet went to paradise. He saw this in a dream. He will say, I saw in a dream X, Y, and Z happening. Right?
Good question.
So, yeah.
I heard somewhere, didn't the Surah Ikhlas Falaq and Nas process of in a dream, and some of the companions didn't accept it as Quran because it was Ibn Masud that didn't accept it as
I vaguely remember that. I don't remember the discussion there, but I mean, it could have been revealed or told to the Prophet that, hey, you're going to receive these surahs, or you're going to receive these, but when he's actually awake, he receives them. Allahu Akbar. Another question? All right. The next how is...
Sheikh, quickly before we move on, sometimes my dreams are vague. I can't really get the message. Does that mean that the heart is altered? And what's the solution?
No. It's your subconscious. Remember, there's a category of subconscious dreams.
Oh, okay.
All right. Vague, choppy, right, all over the place. You're in China right now, and all of a sudden you're in India, and then all of a sudden you're in Antarctica. This is just your subconsciousness, Oh, you missed the bus, and you're late to work or you're late to school, you got a bad grade on your test. This is your subconscious, right? Sardar?
Sometimes like I feel like, hey, I remember this moment, like I remember exactly what someone like
Deja vu?
Yeah, deja vu.
Yeah.
Because I saw in the dreams.
Yeah. So deja vu is very interesting. The best theory I've come across when it comes to deja vu is actually Ibn Qayyim's theory. It says deja vu is something that you have seen in a dream, you forgot that you dreamt it, and then you see it in real life. That's why you feel like I've been here, I've seen this. Like you've seen it in a dream. Because one of the forms of dreams, as we'll see here in a minute, is that you will see exactly what's going to happen. As happened to the Prophet.
Why do you forget?
Well, sometimes you forget dreams.
Always I forget.
Right. That's okay. Okay, seeing true dreams does not mean you have stronger iman. Let's be clear here.
Quick question, since we're on dreams. Is there, do we have any teachings from the process of the Sahaba that if you have like many negative dreams, bad dreams, nightmares over like, small period of time, if that's like a message, like if should you be like contemplating and like thinking about why do I keep having these bad dreams? Is it like
No, the Prophet's advice is just to ignore them. Ignore them. Don't worry about them. Normally, when somebody has frequently recurring nightmares because they're stressed out, especially the nightmares that cause sleep paralysis and stuff like that, it's stress.
Could it be said that
Your name was Saad, right?
could it be said that jinn can be discovered? So that no matter how sophisticated instruments are, you cannot discover. Like for example, you can't know the position of like an electron in heaven because you cannot be known. It is always uncertain.
There you go. Okay. Right. There you go. All right. The next how is ringing of bells. What's the deal with ringing of bells? What would happen is the following. Prophet is doing his thing, and then the companions describe this. All of a sudden, the Prophet والسلام, you could see him start sweating. His face becomes very red, and he completely just zones out, right? And if he is laying on something or he is on top of something, they would actually feel the force and the pressure. So one companion said that the Prophet was, his head was in his lap, and wahi came to him. And he said, I felt like a mountain was on me. Once the Prophet received revelation through this way, and he was riding a camel, the camel could not stay standing. It went down, right? So it's a tremendous amount of pressure, and the Prophet says that this was the most difficult way he would receive revelation. What would happen is the following. When revelation would come, he would hear the ringing of bells, and he describes it like a metal chain being dragged on a rock. You know that sound, right? And it would be very, very loud for him. That sound was coming from the flapping of the wings of angels. So when revelation would come, the angels in their awe and their reverence of Allah and the word of Allah, they would just go into the state of flapping their wings, right? Is that because that's how they would emotionally react to something grand, or that was their form of tasbih? Allahu a'lam. This is what would happen. And you'd imagine there's a lot of angels around the Prophet ﷺ. And of course, there's a lot of angels involved in the process of transferring revelation from the Lawh, which we'll get to, and then to the Prophet ﷺ to prevent the jinn from interfering here, right? So he would hear this noise, and it would just cause him to enter into a very focused state where he starts receiving revelation. Now, why this difficult? And the only answer I have to give is to make sure the Prophet is paying attention, right? There are things going around. There are things going on around him. There are distractions around him, and he's about to receive revelation. He needs to be paying attention and paying full attention. So the flapping of the wings would completely cut his attention off from everything else and get him focused 100% on the revelation, the receiving of revelation, right? And then when this process would end, the prophet would say, I would now know the revelation. I had it memorized. So, I mean, you could think of the human being and how humans interpret information and retain information. When a person experiences something very emotionally um, arousing, it impacts them more, right? They remember it more, especially even if there are distractions around. So perhaps this is what's going on here.
Could you also say to show the greatness of the Quran too, in a sense?
Uh, yeah, no, because these other ways of him receiving revelation does not require that process. So all the Quran is equally great, um, but not all, but he didn't receive every verse this way. Other verses came to him very simply. Now, the angels, their reaction to the Quran is because of the Quran's greatness. All right, let's take a quick break, 10 minutes. Come back at 8:38, inshallah.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Could you say, or I guess according to your understanding, was there any relevance on the method of revelation with the surah that was revealed or the information that was revealed? Like, did the method make an impact on how the companions
That's a great question, but I haven't come across scholars who actually said this verse or these verses came through this way of revelation. So I would just say it has more to do with the context in which the Prophet ﷺ was in. If he was around people and he needed to receive revelation, it would come to him in a way that cuts out the distractions.
Yeah, quick question related to that. Is it just like a basic thing, or is it true that like the last two ayahs of Surah Baqarah are giving they're given like the special status because they were revealed to the Prophet ﷺ directly during his night journey? Is is that is that just a thing that people made up because of the way it was revealed, or is there like some?
No, if I'm remembering correctly, it is true that the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah are very celebrated, right? They are aggrandized even in comparison to other verses. But I think it has to do with the content and the meaning of the verses, not so much how it was received. Or we can say the reason it was received that way was because of the content. What is it? Lawh al-Mahfuz? Is there?
Is it possible to turn AC off?
On?
Off.
Off. Thing is, I think it's controlled from.
Not right there, right behind me.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've been in
We're
this room
losing
for
the
like.
first row here.
They're going down like downward, huh? I've been in this room for like 6 years, and I keep forgetting this is here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's. Well, yeah, I know it. Yep. No.
It's too late, Ethan, you can't get down.
The turn off?
Yep.
Yeah, I left it on 73.
During the winter, the heat is in the level.
All right. Continuing. The third form is angel coming in the form of a human. So Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha and other companions say that there would be times where they would see somebody entering upon the Prophet والسلام, or they'd be in a gathering and a man would enter and have a discussion with the Prophet والسلام. The most famous of these incidents is what's called Hadith Umar, the Hadith of Umar, in which he says that we were with the Prophet والسلام, all of a sudden this person came, nobody knows who he is, and his hair was clean and his clothes were clean as well. There were no signs of travel on his look. And you're talking about, okay, nobody knows who he is, so he must be a traveler, he must be from out of town, but the signs of being from out of town are not on him. So what's the deal with this guy? And so he came and he asked the Prophet, what is Islam? What is Iman? What is Ihsan? Tell me about the hour. I'm sure most of us are familiar with this hadith. And then the man just left. And the Prophet said that was Jibreel. He came to teach you your religion. So sometimes Jibreel alayhi salam would come in the form of a human being, and he would talk to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that Jibreel alayhi salam, as we'll get to later in the course, Jibreel would review the Quran with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam every Ramadan, right? And he would most commonly come in the image of a known companion by the name of Dihya al-Kalbi, right? By the name of Dihya al-Kalbi. So they would see Dihya coming and going to the Prophet, but it was actually Jibreel alayhi salam in Dihya's image. Why Dihya? I guess he was a handsome guy, right? I don't know why exactly, other than, the angels looked good, so they came in the form of somebody who looks handsome. We also know that the angels would sometimes come in human form in battles. So in the battle of Uhud, the battle of Badr, the companions, even the kuffar would describe that there are men on the field, we don't know who they are. And when I say we don't know who they are, like, understand Bedouin societies. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody, and they know the latest about everybody. And, to us, it sounds like kind of like junior high and middle schools type stuff. No, this is real stuff. When I was in Jordan, we wanted to get camel milk, fresh camel milk. And we were in the rural area. So somebody with us knew of a camel shepherd, who sells milk. So we were looking for that individual. He wasn't in his normal place. But there was another guy there. He said, hey, so and so, there was a camel shepherd, etc. Oh, so and so, yeah. He went over there. He used to herd over there. And then he went to point C or point B, and then now he's at point C. Okay, so driving around, couldn't find him. We find another shepherd, different guy. And we asked him, there used to be a camel shepherd that said, oh, yeah, he was at point A, and then he started doing at point B, and now he's at point C. The same exact thing. Like the same exact information they gave us. Everybody knows everybody else, right? Their father, their mother, how many children they have, how many times they've been married, and all that stuff. So, they would see on the battlefield, okay, these are people we don't know, right? And the Prophet said they were angels. And then the fourth way wahi would come is Jibreel in his actual form, in his angelic form. And the Prophet ﷺ had 2 encounters with Jibreel in his angelic form. The first of those encounters were when? Hold on. What is it? Iqra? No, Iqra happened. He was in the human form, which is a good example. Right? But he wasn't in his, when he said Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, it wasn't in cave Hira when the Prophet first met Jibreel, he was in human form.
When he was leaving the cave and headed back home.
That's what you're thinking of. So the first time the Prophet saw Jibreel in his angelic form, there's a difference of opinion. Is it when he immediately left Hira after receiving Iqra? He was leaving, descending, and then he sees Jibreel. That's one opinion. Another opinion is that it came a little bit after. He got Iqra. He's a little bit confused. What happened? He still hasn't processed what's going on. And then he hears his name being called. He looks right, he looks left, he looks behind him, couldn't find anyone until he looked in the sky. So there's a slight differences of opinion, but we can say that it was very early on in Revelation. So at the very beginning of Revelation, he saw Jibreel alayhi salam in his angelic form, and the Prophet alayhi salam describes Jibreel, one of his wings covering the entire horizon. Right? Anyone see the movie, the Marvel movie? It was really bad. I reference Marvel a lot, by the way. What was it? No. With all the deities and Eternals. Like he was being shy a lot. Right? See, I don't want to see like a nerd around, right? Careful, this guy's now the president of the MSU. Anyway, so at the end of that movie, like they depict this large celestial being coming and looking at the earth. Remember that? You haven't watched it? I guess I'm the nerd, right? Anyway, there's this large celestial being that he was so large that he can hold the earth with his hand, right? And I just thought of what the Prophet saw, alayhi salatu wasalam. This is why I love Marvel movies, not because they're good, but because they're just good at giving you a depiction of what we see in tradition. Imagine Jibreel appearing in the horizon, and it looks like this huge being that can literally carry the earth in the palm of their hand. That's intense. And actually seeing that, like seeing it in the movie is just bizarre. It's like, whoa. Seeing it in real life, a whole different thing. So Jibreel would come in the angelic form. We had that first incident, right? The very beginning of Revelation. What was the second time? About the seventh heaven? In what incident? Mi'raj, right? And this is depicted in the Quran. In fact, both are referenced. But the second one, Allamahu Shadidul Quwa, is referring to Jibreel alayhi salam, right? Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ رَآ مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِ الْكُبْرَى أَفَتُمَارُونَهُ عَلَى مَا يَرَى وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرى. That's what I'm saying, right? And Surah Al-Najm. I think both are referenced in Surah Al-Najm. لقد رأى نزلة أخرى. Like he saw him another time, a second time in Isra al-Mi'raj عند سدرة المنتهى عندها جنة المأوى. At the Sidratul Muntaha, which is like the end of creation. After that, you get into non-created entity, meaning beyond the heavens. So both of these are referenced. By the way, if you see a letter like S with a dot on top or below it, it's referring to the hard S. So instead of sin, it would be Sad, right? If you see a line above, it's normally a vowel. It's a long vowel, right? And then if you see two letters under a dash, it means those two letters are actually representing one letter of the Arabic language. Most commonly, it'll be like this or this, referring to the bod. This is va, and this is bod. All right, moving on. The fifth way is direct speech from Allah. We already spoke about this. He got revelation directly from Allah when he went to the Mi'raj. No need to repeat that. And then finally, directly to his heart. So he would receive something directly to his heart from Jibreel alayhi salam. Now, let's be very clear here. He's not imagining things, right? It's not something that is like us, our thoughts talking to ourselves. That's not what's happening. Rather, it's clear that the information is coming externally, and it's clear that it's known that it's coming from Jibreel alayhi salam, but he would not see Jibreel. He would not see Jibreel in his angelic form. He would not see Jibreel in a human form. He just knows that Jibreel is talking to him and he's giving him Quran. Right. Now here it says in this paragraph, Jibreel inspired in my heart. Right? Jibreel inspired in my heart, etc., etc. So normally the Prophet indicates, or there are clues to how this came. So you have these 6 ways in which the Quran was received, or not the Quran, I'm sorry, Wahi, revelation was received by the Prophet. Now remember, not all Wahi is Quran. So just because there are these 6 ways does not mean the Quran came in all 6 ways. The Quran is more exclusively ringing of the bells, and then Jibreel coming, and then through Jibreel in these various ways. Right? When the Prophet was with Allah, I'm not sure if he received verses of the Quran. When it comes to the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, I don't know if Allah spoke that directly to the Prophet or it was given to him in that setting. These 2 are different. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions about how revelation came? Amira, right? Okay.
Like this still counts as the type of Wahi that's through you.
Yeah, it would count as through Jibreel alayhi salam. Yes. See, and it's mentioned here in the paragraph. Jibreel would inspire something. This is probably going to be most likely hadith. Right? Directly from Allah, Surah Mi'raj, predominantly hadith. Right? Then Jibreel in his angelic form, Jibreel in a human form. I don't think Jibreel gave him any wahi when he was in angelic form, any Quran. So primarily it's going to be these 2. Primarily. Now, one of the most common attacks against the Prophet and the Quran والسلام, is that it's from the devils. Till this day, Christians will and others will use this. It's the book of the devil. He's following the devil. Who he saw was the devil. It's still purported today. All right. And when you look at these, again, in their mind, true dreams, well, devils can interfere with dreams. Ringing the bells, that seemed a little bit off, crazy, mental illness from the devils. Angel as a human, you're seeing someone that's schizophrenia from the devils. You see the point? So to us, it's silly, but it's an argument being thrown, and there needs to be a response to it. So, the beginning of the semester, I said there's no homework, and I'm not going to grade any homework, but what I want to do actually with this class, I haven't done this with previous classes before, is I want to start taking these chapters and giving you a little bit more of a practical way of understanding the value of what you're learning, instead of it just being information that you put in your head and, it's not really known why it's important. All right. So what we'll do here is maybe every week I will give you a series of verses from the Quran, a place in the Quran where I want you all to go and read on your own. Don't go to tafsir. We're not going to do anything complicated. Don't go to tafsir. Don't go to this. Don't go to that. Go and just read it. And based on the prompt that I give you, we'll have a discussion in the early part of each class. So for this week's prompt, which we will discuss next week, will revolve around what I just said. This attack against the Quran, against the Prophet, that this is all coming from the devils. What is the Quranic response to that? And the Quran discusses this in the last page of Surah Al-Shu'ara. So chapter 26. So chapter 26, verses 210 to 227. So till the end of the surah. Right. Now you all are still semester 1 of year 1, right? So don't get ahead of yourselves thinking that you can engage the Quran directly. What I'm going to do is give you something simple. Just read the Quran with this question in your mind. How does the Quran respond to the accusations that this is all coming from the devil, right? And, try and bring your own personal life experiences into this, right? Try and ask yourself the question, well, how is this talking to me? What experiences in my life does this actually address? So that you bring to life what the Quran is meant to do for you, and you bring to life this information, right? Does that make sense? Right? Nothing complicated. We'll just have a discussion. And again, the main goal here is to see the value of this information by looking at it through the lens of the Quran, or starting to engage the Quranic texts.
Sheikh, since we don't understand the meaning, do you recommend any particular translation?
Go in English, it's fine. Abdul Halim.
Abdul Halim.
Yeah. That's fine, but other ones, I know there's a few other good ones as well. What is it? Quran.com. You gotta be careful, like the Quran.com and there's this imams.org.
Quran.com is pretty new. It's pretty legit.
Maybe I don't know about it, but imams.org. Look, check this out. How can it be more legit than this? Imams.org, right?
Speaking of that, I downloaded a PDF of the Mus'haf.
Yeah.
And it was missing pages. We just discovered. So Sheikh Qutb was going over a surah. I'm like, let's see it. What is it? We're missing a page.
What's happening? All right. That's imam.org. Established 2014. All right. Let's go see what they're looking at. over 1,500 Muslim faith leaders and scholars of 20 languages. That was a pretty big deal, right? So Malaysian Independence Day, you have GIC lauds, Canada stands against Taliban, right? Heritage statement condemning the terrorist attack, etc., and whatnot. Like I never heard of this, but I was informed by someone, right? Where is it? Did it take it down? Anyways, basically they make a statement condemning the killing of the hostages in Gaza and whatnot. So I go and I start looking, and I go to, okay, let's see who these people are, imams. Watch this. Right? Okay, what do you notice? No information. No information. This guy's no, it's actually an Australian. Our brother and sisters out there blasted him. He's the only one who's known. Oh, here you got some information here. You start looking at, like, you just take random names. That's okay if they're real, right? And then you start looking and you find that most of these people don't exist. They're not real people. And now they're sending out all these political statements that are, mashallah, very in line with a certain group of people. And then, you suspect what? Not collusion. You suspect that it's made up. That this is a Zionist propaganda tool. They do this stuff, man. Another person, I forgot the website name. They gave me something like scientific Quran, stuff like that. That's scientific miracles in the Quran. And so somebody emails me saying, like, this is strange to me. And I go look. I try and find, anytime you enter an Islamic website, the first thing you need to do is look at About Us. Who is behind it? And if there's nobody, there's no name, you put a big X on it. All right? If the people behind it aren't reputable, you put an X on it. Like this Imam Hamad Tawhidi guy from Australia was blasted by the Muslim brothers and sisters there for being somebody who's a sellout, somebody who's just a political propagandist and whatnot. Right? His face is there. Huh? Okay, yeah, we're going to put an X on this. And it's called imams.org. Right? So, it looks too good to be made by mistakes. Nice. All right, anyway. So now the stages of revelation. We had the types of revelation, we had the how revelation came, and now we have the stages of revelation. Okay, so you have stage 1 and you have stage 2. This is looking at the Quran itself. The previous one, it was looking at how the Quran reached the Prophet. This is just looking at the Quran itself. In stage 1, the Quran was in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. All right? And it was transferred down to the Bayt al-Ma'mur. The Quran originally was in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. What is the Lawh al-Mahfuz? I want to confuse you all with Qadr and all this stuff. The Lawh al-Mahfuz is the master book, so to speak, in which everything is written in terms of what's going to happen. That's the Lawh al-Mahfuz. So stage one of the revelation of the Quran is to take the Quran in its entirety from the Lawh al-Mahfuz to another tablet within the creation by a place called Bayt al-Ma'mur. Bayt is house, and a house, by the way, in the Arabic language, in Bayt is anything that has four walls. It's called a Bayt. So this right here, this room that we are in, is a Bayt. Right? So now we translate as house. To us, a house is something that has more than just four walls. It has a kitchen, a bathroom, etc. But no, in the Arabic language, a bayt is something that has four walls. That's it. And ma'mur from Umran, which is it's established. So the established home. This established home, in the book, it's written, it's in the lower heavens, located directly above the Kaaba. As far as I'm aware, the Bayt al-Ma'mur is in the upper heavens. Right, it's in the higher heaven.
Directly above the Kaaba?
Directly above the Kaaba. I mean, now you're talking to like aerophysics and aerospace physics and all that stuff. So no need to ponder too much on that. But as far as I'm aware, it's closer to the Sidratul Muntaha in that area, right? Where creation, or let me take a step back. Sidratul Muntaha is the end of creation before you get into the realm of Allah, so to speak, for the lack of better words. Bayt al-Ma'mur is where our heaven ends, right? Where our heaven ends. And then beyond that, you start going to the other levels of heavens. Okay. So Shaykh Farhan, what he meant by that is the lower heaven, in a sense that the first, the one that we live in comparison to the seven, then fine. But if he means like directly above the Kaaba, kind of closer to our area, which I don't think he means that, that's not the case. All right. So the Quran, what happened in its entirety, is copied from the Lawh al-Mahfuz and sent down to this place. That's the first stage of revelation. The second stage is the gradual revelation, meaning every now and then Jibreel will go to this place where the Quran is, and so to speak, there are timestamps. When this time comes, you reveal these verses. Jibreel would go, understand what he needs to reveal, take those verses down to the Prophet. This is the second stage. All right, where Jibreel would go, take particular verses and reveal them to the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. And we know that this stage lasted how long? 23 years. All right. Now, people will come and say, why was the Quran revealed over 23 years? Why wasn't it revealed all at once?
Because people weren't ready.
People weren't ready. The Torah was revealed all at once, and they definitely weren't ready.
They end up like that.
They end up like that, right? What's your name? Bayan. Okay, the context in which it's coming down, which it came down, allows an amplification of understanding the verse as well as applying the verse. Okay, that's true. Right?
It was circumstantial, like it came to address a specific thing. So if it all came, it'd be like predicting the future. Like it doesn't work that way with the Quran, right?
Well, the Quran isn't really predicting the future. There's not much going on in the Quran in terms of.
No, I mean,
Meaning, if it were to have been revealed all at once, it's not really. Well, I guess some areas,
like Qasas, for example.
For example, right? Okay. Any other? So Quraysh, again, they proposed this. وقالوا لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة. What's the deal with this Quran? Why didn't it come down all at once? Right? Why did they say that?
Because their book was revealed like that?
They didn't have a book. Quraysh.
Oh, okay. I thought the Jews.
They talked to
Siraj.
Jews.
But it took the process of coming up with it. Years went on.
Right? So that's one. He's making this up as he goes. There's another reason why.
They talked to the Jews.
Because they know the Jews, and in Judaism, the Torah came all at once. So they're saying, huh, why isn't it like that? And the response is, well, you disbelieved in that. What difference does it make? You've already disbelieved in that. Right? Anyway, regardless, how does coming down all at once versus gradually make any difference in terms of the truth of what's being revealed? Man?
Cancel out. Like, it's hard.
Let me build on your point, because this is very interesting. When you read the work of an author who has written multiple books, all right, what you'll find is the following. As they get further into their age, naturally, what happens to their skills at writing comes better. Somebody who's authored 10 books, when you compare their first book with their last book, what do you expect? You expect improvement. You expect fixing of errors, right? But when you look at the Quran, its articulation is equal across the board. Meaning this isn't the work of someone who's learning as they go. It's the work of someone who's already perfect. You see what I mean here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was mentioned, the contextual aspect and the situational aspect allows for the amplification of the meanings of these verses and the emotional attachment, by the way, right? When a verse addresses something that you have went through and you now understand the emotional side of that, there's that emotional attachment to the verse. This way, when you ask if you were to ask the companions about a verse, they're not just going to tell you what it means. They're going to tell you how they felt when it happened. That's what's going to come back to them. Oh man, you ask them about Ahzab. Oh, that was something else. I have a story to tell you. This is how we felt, what we're feeling, what we did, and right? Definitely. Okay. Now, the last part of this chapter is the first and last revelation, meaning what was the first verse or set of verses to be revealed? What was the last verse or set of verses to be revealed? We all know what was the first set of verses to be revealed. They were Iqra, right? The first 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq. Now, let's look at these verses. So I want you all, I'll give you the English, right? So the first 5 verses, read them. Here, take a minute to read them. And let's engage this. Now, if I were to ask you all, imagine, put you in a scenario here. You are responsible for managing the revelation of this book that is meant to literally change, alter the direction of human history. Right? This is the greatest thing that has ever come to humans, to the earth. You are responsible now for revealing the Quran. what would be the first thing you would tell the Prophet? From your own self. Don't think logically and what's the right move. What would you do?
Validate your position.
What is it?
Like validate like your role. Like basically like you are who you are, who you claim to be.
You are the Prophet, meaning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feeling like who's the God? It's like who's who,
What is it?
can you just
So what if you were responsible for revealing the Quran to the Prophet? What would be the first verse you would reveal to the Prophet? What would be the first thing you would tell him? You're a prophet, okay.
Yes, I am God.
I'm God, okay.
Like the verses you would tell me, like what would you tell first?
Yeah.
And
Right, we sent you as a messenger. Maybe worship Allah alone, la ilaha illallah. It is the pillar of Islam, right? You were created to worship, something along those lines. What is this talking about? What is it saying? Right here, these 5 verses. Is there a command here? The Iqra, but aside from that, like imagine, you have no idea what this Iman stuff is, you have no idea about any of this stuff. And this is the first thing that you're being told. What direction are you being given here? Are you being given direction? Do you feel that these verses are bizarre? Like it's kind of, why would they be the first verses?
More like thought provoking.
All right. It's more perspective. What is Allah saying in these verses?
I think in the first verses he says like he says reading but not like actual reading. Maybe you see everything in the world and see beyond that Allah that we have.
Okay. Siraj.
Many verses are about submission, because Allah is saying that you were created from like a lesser substance, and you were taught how to use it then, and all these reasons for why you are like less, and you should submit. Like humble.
You're inferring now. You're inferring what direction is to be taken from this. But if you actually look at what's being said, Saad? Again, you're inferring. Saying, okay, he's telling that means I need to do this. I'm actually looking at what's being said. Forget about how that's meant to influence you. What is being said here? Get knowledge. Okay, well, let's do the following. Who are the parties being spoken about here in these verses?
Mankind.
Just mankind?
And their Lord.
And their Lord, right? Now, how is each one being described? How is Allah describing himself here? Isa.
Establishing the relationship with Allah.
Unpack that.
Establishing that Allah is the Lord, created man, and then it's also establishing that He taught man everything that they know, and kind of showing how man is, superior to creation, was taught everything, and that Allah was the creator, didn't need anything.
Put yourself in the shoes of people back then. All right? We as Muslims, as practicing Muslims, take for granted the way we view Allah's role in the universe. When you talk to people, when you look at how people live, when you look at how people view Allah, it's like a blank in their mind, right? So you are this man who is in this cave worshiping. And the worship that you are offering is to a God. The only thing you really know about him is that he's the creator. He created, and he's there. That's all you really know about him. Yeah, and I hear about these people who claim to be prophets. And the way you are worshiping is kind of just, this is what I feel like doing. And I don't really know how to worship, so I'm just going to do whatever comes out of my heart. All right? And you're sitting there doing your thing, and all of a sudden this guy comes in out of nowhere. You're on top of a mountain. Nobody's coming up there unless they have a purpose. And you don't know this guy. Remember, you know everyone. And this random guy is coming. And he's telling you to recite. I don't know what to recite. Recite. I don't know. I recite. I don't know. And it's getting aggressive. And he says, recite in the name of Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Recite, and your Lord is the most generous. Notice how Allah describes himself. Do you see the name Allah? In fact, in the first few sets of verses revealed to the Prophet, the name Allah is not mentioned. He refers to himself as Ar-Rabb, Al-Khaliq, the creator, right? Al-Kareem, the gracious, because those were the more common understanding of Allah in that time. We know him as these. He created, right? He's the Lord. We get that. So Allah is speaking to them based on what they know. And he's tying humanity into this. And he's saying to humanity, you were taught that which you don't know. You were taught. You were given knowledge. You were given information. You use that information to live your life. All right? You have Allah in these verses who is addressing the human being and essentially telling them, right? I am your Lord, and by merit of being your Lord, I take care of you. This is understood. But in what area of care do people primarily focus when it comes to Allah's lordship? If you were to ask the average person who believes that God exists, how does God take care of you? What does that mean? Provisions, worldly stuff, right? He gives you food, he takes care of your body, and all of this stuff, right? And Allah is saying, yeah, I did that. I did that as your Lord. I am taking care of your physical selves. Now, what is more important, your physical self or your spiritual self? Your spiritual self, right? So Allah is saying, I am your Lord. I take care of you. I created you from something very, very insignificant, the fluid that you're created from. And I have given you in this world, and I have taught you. I've done all of this for your physical self. Do you not think then I'm going to give you the same amount of care for your spiritual selves? If Allah is our Lord, and by merit of being our Lord, he has shown his care for us by taking care of our physical selves, and we are saying that our spiritual selves are more important, then doesn't that mean Allah is going to care for our spiritual selves more than our physical selves? And how does Allah care for our spiritual selves?
And
By sending the messengers. So don't be surprised. There's nothing bizarre about Allah sending a messenger with revelation to guide your spiritual selves. If it makes sense in your mind that there's a Lord who takes care of your physical selves, then it should make more sense that that same Lord is going to take care of your spiritual selves. Don't be surprised that there is a messenger, right? And so as Isa was saying, this verse, these verses, it's about your perception of this relationship between the human and the divine. This is what it is. Allah is the Lord, He is the creator, and He, in merit of that, is gracious, He is giving, He's generous. This is how He expresses that lordship to the human being, by being their Lord, by managing their affairs, by taking care of them, by teaching them. And the human being, right, their relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through submission, right? Hence the pen. This is very unique, because when you look at the first story in the Quran about Adam alayhi salam, the creation of Adam, the two primary components that Allah is describing Adam with are وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, right? فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِ. Allah taught Adam the names of everything. He taught Adam, He gave him knowledge. The names of everything, He gave him language. Knowledge and language. Knowledge and language. That is what makes a human being unique in comparison to other biological organisms. Language, knowledge, and language. And, you know, it's truly incredible, even to atheists. Language is incredible because language is processed in your mind and you get to share that with other people. And now with ChatGPT, I got an email with a question from, I think, someone from Malaysia or Indonesia. I'm like, I don't know what this language is. So I copied it, went to ChatGPT, got it translated, understood the question. The question is a marriage that was forced valid? So I gave a response in English, told them to translate it to the same language, and I sent it to the person, and they thanked me. Yeah. This is the world today, right? This is language. It's what makes a human being unique. And the more knowledge a human being has, and the more they are capable of articulating that information, the stronger they are, aren't they? Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, now I'm giving you a book that comes to you through language that gives you knowledge. So Allah is opening the greatest movement in human history, that the impact of which you all are very aware of. He is starting it by saying, you and I are in a relationship. I have my role, you have my role. And this Quran is meant to empower you by using the two elements of the human being that makes them truly unique: knowledge and language. So now it's warping the perception. Wait a minute. This God stuff is very interesting. It's more than just an imagination. When you look at Greek mythology, y'all take Greek, who here went to IOK, high school? Do y'all take Greek mythology? No? Who here had to go to public school like myself? We took Greek mythology and Roman mythology, take that in social studies, right? How are these deities portrayed?
Well,
What are they doing? We're fighting each other, arguing with each other. You stole my wife. I'm going to take your husband and all this stuff. Are they engaged in what's going on in the human realm? Absolutely nothing. None. So now it's coming and saying, not only is God there, he is involved in what goes on. And there are ways of receiving more of that. And there are ways of forfeiting that privilege. There's a relationship, right? The point I wanted to make, and I slipped my mind. Yeah. So it's shaping this perception. Quraysh is a polytheistic religion. They give the gods, they sacrifice for the gods, they don't really get anything back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that's not the way it works. The relationship is two ways. And I was reading a book, and you have two individuals having a discussion. One is a theist, and the other is not. They're a humanist, meaning they don't really know if God exists, but it's more about the human being. And they have a discussion about Ayub alayhi salam, and the question of human suffering. And I don't think the Christian did a good job defending his position. The position was, sometimes suffering is justified. There's good in suffering. There's fruits that come from it. The humanist is saying there's really no point. Like, why did God just leave him there to suffer? What I am to understand from that is that evil can outdo God. Now, evil is an equal rival to God. Why did he just allow that to happen? It doesn't make any sense. So, of course, I put on my Quran thinking cap, and I'm thinking, okay, well, how would the Quran respond to this? Anyone want to give it a guess? So the humanist is saying, why did God just leave him there to suffer?
Talk about Ayub.
Ayub alayhi salam, specifically Ayub's situation.
Which was like leprosy in his family.
Yeah. 18 years, however long, right?
Like giving back his health, like gives him his family and then.
At what expense? Is that a trade you're willing to make? I'm not willing to make that trade. If Allah came to me and said, lose your son and daughter, right, and go through all of this, and in return, I will give you 2 sons and 2 daughters and double your wealth, I'd say, I don't want it. Why did Allah leave him there to suffer? I mean, is there another way to teach that? He taught the Prophet sabr. Are we going to say the Prophet ﷺ is less patient than Ayub? He didn't go through that.
Also, it's for us, sometimes there are two things maybe to be solved, doesn't matter that.
What I'm saying is that could have been taught a different way, in a less severe way. Sad. Okay. Why does Allah need this? What is it? What's the point?
To raise his rank in Jannah?
There's no other way of raising his rank in Jannah?
It's
Rahman.
Teach later and people teach us from history.
That, hey, I'm gonna come get you, and you might be sitting there on a bed for 18 years.
No, teach us no.
Siraj.
Is there something unique about suffering? It's really the greatest political outcome, maybe?
Again, is there not another way of doing that? There are other prophets who are closer to Allah than Ayub who didn't go through that, right? Now, the answer is as follows. At any time, Ayub could have made dua and got it lifted, right? Had Ayub from day 5 said, oh Allah, remove this, would it have been removed? Yes. He made the choice not to do it for a certain reason. That was Ayub's choice. You see what I mean? This humanist is thinking, why isn't God involved? Why didn't he do anything? Our response is Allah is involved. And as soon as Ayub made the dua, what happened? He removed it. Right? Now, that's not the only lesson of the story of Ayub alayhi salam, but just in the context of this, the opening verses of the Quran. Because he said, I lived prosperously. Allah has given me prosperity for what, 40 years? And he said that I am ashamed to ask Allah to remove this unless I go through 40 years. All right. Remember, the concluding verses of Surah Al-Shu'ara, look for how Allah responds to this accusation the shayateen are involved in the Quran, or the Quran is from the shaitan, and the Prophet is being influenced by the shaitan. See you all next week, inshallah.
Joseph, did you understand his question? I lost connection right at that moment. What was his response to why Allah chose this way?
You talking about like for like the homework?
No, not the homework. Why did Allah chose suffering as opposed to other ways to teach what he was trying to teach Ayub alayhi salam, or any other?
I think the summary of it was I think it was more so of and I may be missing, I guess you could say, the question that you could have asked earlier to have that relief, but he chose to delay it because of the previous prosperity. So
Yeah,
think
I got that part. But exactly where he responded, why did Allah choose
like that method.
to sort of like have him go through that pain, that suffering? Why did he allow the suffering? Why did Allah choose the suffering to teach his prophet? Look at that guy. I
I
have his
see.
picture. Yeah, did he respond to that? Right at that moment he froze for me.
Oh, it's I think I was taking notes and I totally missed that too as well. Oh, it seems like one of the brothers is asking.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Guys, enjoy the in-person class. See, we're losing so much of the stuff because of the connection. You guys are so much luckier than we are.
Go back to the recording and look at the timestamp. Maybe this is the answer.
Did you hear what the Sheikh said?
What was the question? Like, what was the question? Do you guys remember the question he's asking?
Yeah, why did Allah choose the suffering way to teach his prophet Yunus alayhi salam? Like we kept saying to teaching patience, he kept saying, why did Allah choose this way? What was his response?
Yeah, I don't think. No. The thing is, I don't know, man. I don't think he answered. He didn't really answer.
Okay.
From what I heard, he didn't really answer.
Oh, okay.
I'll go back. I can answer to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. Even when I was starting, and I feel like I got a lot better, especially when you have to do that. And even when I started, like, shooting down presentation and, you know, Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. They're really not good. And they're really important. And like so this is like the right that is like all the things that and that is like what I should probably not I see the all of that. So it's longer. I think I would say 85%. Small amount of time. They expect sometimes. But what we want to understand for where we're looking for all other people make not your own very low area. It will be on the pretty great game on this.
Okay, maybe not. How do you ready for it? Whenever you cover all the work from three, like maybe like one of the future words. I think each field is asking for all. You gotta make sure you know when you make it the old one. And we should probably go and like the word world. Like what? Oh yes. These are the yeah. One
They have a question? No, that was for the word that one, which was reward. That one is technically it's neutral recompense. That? No. Yeah, so a jazat can be good and a jazat can be right. It's a type of, you could call it a type of repayment.
What if we say Jazakallah?
Khayran.
If you just respond with it,
Yes.
then you get whatever you do. Great.
Yeah. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Anyone have one of those weekends where your weekend was longer than your week? So therefore you go into the week more tired than you exited from it? No? Bismillah. Good. Really quickly, just to make sure that we're not forgetting our vocab. Singulars and plurals, if I call upon you, if there's only a singular, then one. طيب, fly or insect?
Zubab.
Grant, town, city, village. قرية. Good. Sardar, rock. Good. Isa, paper or leaf. Siraj, pen. Muhammad Mardini, room. That's the plural. That's another plural. That's the plural. Okay. Abdurrahman, room. Good. Ghurfatun, and then two plurals, either ghurafun or ghurufatun. Muhammad Mardini, back to you. Door. DJ, idol. Sa'ad, mouse or rat. What? One more time. Fa'run. Rama, house. Salma, face. Noor, building. And the other, that's both singulars, the plural. Good. Samira, day. Plural. Amira, messenger. Insha, tongue or language. Muhammad Fardeen, brother.
أخ إخوان.
Good. I don't know who's online, who's not. I'm just Joseph, you there? Need some type of indication. I'm just gonna call a whole bunch of people. Grant, father. Good. طيب, boy or child?
Waladun, awladun.
Selma, revelation. Siraj, chest. Isa, descendants or offspring. Sardar, spouse or pair. Muhammad Mardini, man. DJ, woman or wife. Imra'atun nisa'un. Sa'ad, mother. Muhammad Fardeen, girl or daughter.
أخ أخوات. Oh, I'm sorry, no. إخوة أخوات.
Huh?
إخوة أخوات. Oh no, bintun banatun. Sorry,
There we
I'm
go.
mixing.
Bintun banatun. Bintun banatun. Bintun banatun. Michelle. Brother.
أخ أخوات.
See, Muhammad Fardeen, what you did?
I know, sorry about that.
You started this trend now of all like everyone's gonna be confused about what's what. Michelle, try it again. Brother.
أخ إخوة.
Akhun.
Can I give her a hint?
No, she's going. Go say it again.
أخ إخوة.
Good. Akhun ikhwatun. Akhun ikhwatun. There's another plural as well. Do you know what it is? Grant, what is it? Ikhwanun. Good. Singular is akhun. The two plurals are ikhwatun and ikhwanun. Salma, someone that's leaving or exiting. What'd you say? Leaving or exiting. Kharijun. Rama, going. Dhahibun. Noor, coming. Qadimun. Amira, studying. Samira, sleeping. Insha, returning. Tayyib, looking at. Worshipping. Siraj. Sardar, eating. Akala is it's the verb to eat. Huh? Isa, what is it? Akilun. Good. No. He did not confirm. He looked at you. You said akil. He did not confirm when he looked at you.
Last part, I think the last time. Yeah. I give that for you.
The look on Isa's face is still unsure.
We do have that word stuff.
Yes, and that's why I said akala is a verb.
And then we have the verbal noun as well. What is it?
The masdar.
Yeah.
The verbal noun. Aklun.
Excellent.
Good. Body parts in pairs. Go. Saad. Lip. Good. Mouth. This is not in person. DJ. Mouth. Famun afwahun. Going back to body parts in pairs. Muhammad Mardini. Foot. Qadamun. Insha. Shin. Good. Amira. Ankle. Good. Ka'bun. Muhammad Fardeen. Ear.
أذن آذان.
Good. Udhun. Michelle, leg.
رجل.
Rijlun. Joseph, cheek.
Khadun.
Khaddun. Maryam, khidr, heel. Aqibun. Noor, hand. Yadun. Samira, eye. Amira, elbow. Insha, shoulder. Mankibun, good. Grant, staff. عصا. طيب, 2 different words for path.
For path is طريق.
But don't stretch it. طريق.
طريق and سديد.
Good. Isa, bucket. Bucket. Siraj, sun, sun. Sardar, sky. Sardar, wind. One more time. Yeah, stretch the yeah. Rihun. DJ, a water well. Good. Saad, another word for house that's not baytun. Darun, Rama, cup. Salma, wine. She said khamrun. Noor, ship. Good. Amira. No, I'll get back. I'll get back. طيب. Conjugate. Fataha in the past tense. All of the conjugations. Loudly, clearly.
فتح. فتحا. فتحوا. فتحت. فتحتا. فتحنا. فتحت. فتحتما. فتحتم. فتحتي. فتحتما. فتحتنا. فتحت. فتحنا.
Good. Selma, do kharaja. What was that? Oh. Good. Your quiz will be on Thursday. Anything I ask today right now will definitely be included. It doesn't mean that if I don't ask it, it won't be included. But anything I ask, just make sure you study for it because there's a good chance there will be. Huh? Yeah, I mean, I'll get there, but yeah. Okay. Good. Amira. دخل يدخل. Before I turn to you, يدخل Amira. So I keep forgetting things. Abdurrahman, remind us of the pronouns. 12 pronouns. Yeah. Good, done. Amira, يدخل, the present tense.
تدخل. تدخلان. يدخلن. تدخل. تدخلان. تدخلون. تدخلين. تدخلان. تدخلان. يدخلن. أدخل. ندخل.
Good. Isa, شرب يشرب. يشرب. ها يشرب.
يشربان. يشربون. تشرب. تشربان. يشربن. تشرب. تشربان. تشربون. تشربين. تشربان. تشربن. أشرب. تشرب.
Good. Muhammad Fardeen. ذهب يذهب. يذهب.
يذهب يذهبان يذهبون. تذهب تذهبان يذهبن. تذهب تذهبون. تذهب تذهبان تذهبون. تذهبين تذهبان تذهبن. أذهب نذهب.
Good. Salma, give me an example of a mudaf, mudafun ilay, an idafa construction. Surah Al-Nasri. Don't use surahs anymore. Off the table. She used one, it's done. Rama. ها رسول الله نور اسم جمع أميرة امرأة العزيز good سميرة come back to you إنشاء دار العلم طيب
قلم أستاذي
one more time
قلم
كم تنوين
قلم أستاذي
قلم الكنكتر
قلم الأستاذ
قلم الأستاذ teacher's pen Grant
فصل مدرسي
فصل المدرس the teacher's classroom works أصحاب الكهف عيسى حرف جر
بيت أبيه
بيت أبيه good بيت أبيه just because but yeah بيت أبيه is all good محمد نورديني good no it's good it's no I'm just it's funny because you know he's right next to you he was probably banking on his name عبد الرحمن ثوب الأستاذ طالب العلم سعد بيت المؤمن good محمد فردين
جمع تكسير
جمع تكسير ميشيل
قلم المدرس
kind of taken already I think we did قلم الأستاذ I'll come back to you Joseph do you have one Joseph mixed up that Maryam Khidr do you have one
سيارة الرجل
one more
سيارة الرجل
سيارة الرجل the man's car good Samira you have one Michelle Muhammad Ali Ahmed إضافة construction
مفتاح سيارتي
مفتاح السيارة guys if I ask you for 10 examples of an إضافة construction on the test that shouldn't be difficult at this point okay and by the way no one even mentioned Salatul Fajr or any of the prayers okay but as a rule like on the test if you mention one of them as an example don't mention the rest of them or if you mention Surah Al-Nasr or Surah Al-Falaq like that's it don't be I can do 113 more okay clear but like Salah is one Surah is one right and then but then you have literally so many right even if you just said right now one of you said and you don't because it would work if you said Jam'ul Mudhakkari Jam'ul Muannathi it would work right someone said Ismu Jam'in Jam'u Taksirin right anyways my point is right Ma'ul Bi'ri right the water of the well water right once again any of these would work so if you ask for multiple examples don't freak out you were just given multiple examples good Insha give me an example of a mufradun word in all three states sorry Insha what are all three states مرفوع منصوب مجرور give me an example of a mufradun word in all three states good خليل خليلا خليل another one سعد مفردun word in all three states good مؤمنون مؤمنا مؤمنين how do you say singular DJ in Arabic how do you say dual مثنى how do you say plural huh جمع good Selma how do you say masculine and feminine مذكر مؤنث نور how do you say a common and proper or definite and indefinite نكرة معرفة good how do you say status or state Grant
that is state الإعراب
الإعراب good So we did the mufradun word in all three states. We had khalilun, khalilan, khalilin. We had mu'minun, mu'minan, mu'minin. Good. Isa, a dual word in all three states. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. Another one, Amira. Stop. Good. Aduwani, aduwaini. Right? طيب. جمع المذكر السالم in all three states.
قال منى قال مينا.
One more time.
قال منى قال مينا.
قال مين or قال مينا?
مينا.
Mina, you sure? Yeah. It's Monday. Monday. The Jam' al-Mudhakkar al-Salim are only used for beings of intellect.
That is right.
قال منى قال مينا. قال I was messing. Huh?
I was gonna say Muslimuna.
Forget that bottom chart, guys. That bottom chart, chapter 1 and 2. I should, you know what? I'm next year, first year students. I'm gonna get that bottom chart, print it on a shirt, and put it on the back of the seminary sweaters, because like it will answer so many of your test questions. That bottom, print it on the back of the seminary thing, right? Even the people that see you will learn some Arabic just through you wearing it and walking by. What did you say? Good. Dhahibuna, dhahibina. Dhahibuna, dhahibina. Rama, a jam'ul mu'annath salim word in all three states. Good. Abidatun, abidatin. Insha, another one. Jam'ul mu'annath salim. I'll come back to you. DJ, another one. Jam'ul mu'annath salim. Qadimatun, qadimatin. Abdurrahman, another one. Stop it. Muhammad Mardini. Guys, there's 12 words on that chart. Amira. Na'imatun, na'imatin. Grant.
Akilatun, akilatin.
Akilatun, akilatin. Sardar. What? Man. Who? Siraj. Now, good. Nadhiratun, nadhiratin, nadhiratin. Did I ask you already, Noor? No? Raji'atun, raji'atin, raji'atin. Good. Joseph, another one.
I'm sorry, what are we doing, Sheikh? We're doing feminine.
Salim, sound feminine plural in all three states.
Sing. You said which one?
Jam'ul mu'annath salim, sound.
Vocabulary. Muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatan. No, that's too easy.
They're gone. Pick another word.
Vocabulary.
Yes. Muslimatun, muslimatin. Okay. Mu'minatun, mu'minatin. Sabiratun, sabiratin. Sajidatun, sajidatin. Someone who does sajda. A word that we come across, it wasn't vocab, but we came across it. Qanitatun, qanitatin, right? And then the rest of the chart. Nadhiratun, nadhiratin, raji'atun, raji'atin, qadimatun, qadimatin, akilatun, akilatin, na'imatun, na'imatin, ila akhirihi. Till the end. You get it? Right? Jam'ul mudhakkar salim. Pick from that chart. Okay? If I say, hey, give me 3 examples of a Jam'ul mudhakkar salim in all 3 states, pick from that chart. And then I say Jam'ul mudhakkar salim in all 3 states, pick another 3 words from that chart. If you write muslimatun, muslimatin, like, I'm not going to mark it wrong is one of them, but please don't let that be your example. Please choose something else besides muslimatun, muslimatin, or muslimuna, muslimina, or muslimani, muslimaini. Is that clear? Good. Grant, what are all of the asma'ul ishara? Start with the qareeb. Just go 3 in the first line, 3 in the second line.
Hada, hadihi, haulai.
You're like, you went.
Hada.
Okay.
Hadihi.
No.
Oh, hada, hadani, haulai.
There we go.
Hadani, haulai.
Good. Stop. Okay. Good. DJ, what did he say? Continue. No, you. You skipped the singular feminine. What is it? No. Good. هذا هذان هؤلاء هذه هاتان هؤلاء. سلمى بعيد. Good. Amira, what are they? Yeah. Good. I say a word, you tell me the ism al-ishara that goes before it. Understand? Yes? Let's do qareeb. Let's do qareeb. So we're doing the first two lines. Is that clear? First two lines. Siraj, ناظرون. Good. هؤلاء ناظرون. سعد أصنام. Good. هذه أصنام. The plural of inanimate objects or non-intellectual or non-human plurals. Saad, help me out. Are treated as singular feminine. Good. طيب أقوام. أقوام.
Is that strong?
No.
Qareeb?
No. Sardar, أقوام. Good. هؤلاء أقوام. Group of people or nation. Let's go. Muhammad Fardeen. Muhammad Fardeen. ماء.
ماء. هذه ماء.
ماء masculine or feminine?
هذا
ماء masculine or feminine, guys? Masculine.
Okay. هذا ماء.
Yeah, هذا ماء. هذا ماء. Joseph, نصيحة.
نصيحة. هذا نصيحة. Oh no, Tamabuta. I'm sorry. هذه.
هذه نصيحة. Good. DJ. قلباني. All of them. Abdurrahman. هذان قلباني. قلباني is dual masculine. هذان قلباني. طيب. غرفتان.
غرفتان. غرفتان is هاتان غرفتان.
Good. هاتان غرفتان. You guys get the point? Yes? Okay, perfect. Really quickly on Salma, place or location, singular feminine, singular plural. Did you just take off the dhamma? You said makanun, makanu. You just took off a dhamma as the plural. Is a singular. Rama? Amakinu. Makanun, amakinu.
What did she say? What was her?
She said makanun, makanu. It was the same word, just with one less vowel sound. Yes, yes. Makanun, amakinu. Good. Earth or land, Noor? Punishment or torment, ya Samira? Insha. Did you say it? Insha. That's punishment or retribution. But sure, what's the other one? Punishment, torment. Adabun. Amira, strong. Qawiyun aqwiya. DJ, sincere advice. Good. Saad, word. Kalimatun. Muhammad Mardini, group of people or nation. Good. Abdurrahman, sky or heaven? Good. Sama'un, samawatun. Siraj, infant or child. Isa, reward or recompense. Jaza'un, morning or dawn, Sardar. Asbahun.
I said round, right?
No, you said ashabun.
Oh, okay.
I have the recording. I can pull it. Grant, miraculous sign. Verse.
Ayatun, ayatun.
Good. Ayatun, ayatun. طيب, soul, self, person.
Nafsun, nufusun.
Nafsun, nufusun. Good. Muhammad Ali, sick or uneasy.
Saqimun.
Good. Muhammad Ali as well. Cool.
Bardun.
Good. Bardun. Michelle, cloud.
غيم غيوم
Good.
غيم
Ghaymun, ghiyumun. The other plural is ghiyamun. Muhammad Fardini, life.
حياة.
Hayatun. Yes, he was. I called him. Because I keep calling him Muhammad Mardini. Muhammad Fardini. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I don't even know you caught it, but I caught it in my head. I was like, why did I do that? And then, Joseph, emotional heart or intellect?
Fuadun, afwaidatun.
Afwahun is mouths. You're thinking famun afwahun, but you're singular, right? Fuadun.
See.
What's the plural, Salma?
Afidatun.
Good. Thing or something, Rama. Shay'un, ashya'un. Nur, God or deity. Master deity, Rabbun. But I'm not going to mark it. What's the other one? God or deity? Ilahun, alihatun. Amira, safe, secure, intact. Salimun, insha, close friend. Khalilun, akhillah. DJ, master or deity. Rabbun, arbabun, heart. Qalbun, qulubun. Sa'ad, truth, right, privilege. Truth. Good. Sardar, a people. A people. Nasun, unasun. Star or planet. Isa. Kawkabun, kawakibu. And Siraj, enemy. Aduun, a'da'un. Wait, guys, wait. Grant, the two types of sentences are?
Jumlatun ismiyatun, jumlatun fi'liyatun.
Good. A jumlatun ismiyatun needs a what and a what?
It needs a mubtada'un and khabarun.
A mubtada'un and a khabarun. And Nur, a jumla fi'liya needs a fi'lun, fa'il, maf'ulun bi. Amira, you had a question?
Yeah, in the book, it's shape. Well, I got that right. Or-
Yeah, that's right. Shay'un, ashya. Ooh, yeah. Is there anything I didn't cover?
Yeah.
What?
The main man.
The huruf jar?
The inna.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I can add that on the test. But I don't got a problem with it. Huh? Okay. Huh? حرف جر يعني. I might ask you for a few examples. Just write min, ila, an, ala, li, bi. Anything else?
You said the word flexible.
Yes, good.
I forgot the one for
Flexible. Mu'rabun. Mu'rabun. Yes, good, Isa. So flexible was mu'rabun, and inflexible was mabniyun. Now listen. If you're asked to give an example of each or multiple examples of each, listen. Because some of you will still get this wrong, even though I'm telling you the answer right now. If you're asked to give an example of mabniyun, Mabniyun is non-flexible. It doesn't change. Wherever it comes in a sentence, it will always sound the same. Okay? You can mention any of the asma'ul ishara except for the duals. You can mention any of the asma'ul ishara except for the duals. So you can mention hadha, you can mention ha'ula'i, you can mention hadihi, you can mention dhalika, ulaika, and tilka. Basically 6 of the 10 you can mention for mabniyun. Clear? Also, what else you can mention is any of the ad-dama'iru, any of the pronouns, ana, nahnu, and till the end. Clear? So if I ask you for 10 examples, don't freak out. You have 12 pronouns and you have 6 asma'ul ishara. Is that clear? That's 18. Or, yeah, 18. Right? Good?
Those are mabni as well.
Huruf al-jar are mabni as well. Huruf al-jar are mabni as well. You can use that, right? Do you understand that? Now, mu'arabun words are the opposite. So if I say, hey, give me an example of 7, I just created 7 mu'arabun words, okay? Once again, first chart, bottom chart, whichever chart on the first chapter. So go nadirun, abidun, akilun, and you only have to give them in one state, by the way. You don't, right? But I'll immediately know that you understand, right? Sanamun, ghurfatun, dhubabun, famun, and just keep listing off, right? As long as,
Practically all of them.
yeah, practically all your vocab, yes, right? And you can mention plurals as well. I'm just, right? You can mention plurals, it doesn't matter, right? But for mabniyun, you specifically mention the dhama'ir and the asma'ul ishara with the exception of the duals. Good, thank you, Isa. What else? Anything else, guys? I know last week we talked about mudaf and ilayh. We went into on Thursday we went to like forming a jumla ismiya and then how like inna goes into it and stuff. Okay, good. So let's go to where are we, guys? We did drill 8.
Yes.
And we did drill 9, correct?
Yes.
We're right there, 3.4.
Yeah, we're right there where it says
Good. Okay, bismillah. 3.4, flexibility. The Muslimun chart is the default way that one should expect to see words in raf'un, nasbun, and jarun form. However, there are other ways that status may show itself. So it is important to recognize when something has changed so that we can still identify the correct status of the ismun. Flexibility is not one of the 4 properties of the ismun. Rather, it is a subtopic under the status. This topic deals with the different forms the status markers can take. The discussion of flexibility mainly pertains to singular words and broken plurals that have an ending vowel. Therefore, for flexibility, we are only focused on the following parts of the Muslimun chart. Basically, you're only looking at the singular. That's what he's trying to get at. Okay. He says, there are 3 forms of flexibility. Right next to flexibility, above it, beyond it, somewhere right there, write the word mu'arabun. Right? Mu'arabun. Right? Mu'arabun. When you think flexibility, I want you to think mu'arabun. There are 3 forms of flexibility. They are, so once again, flexibility, I want you to write mu'arabun. Is that clear? Now, under mu'arabun, we have 3 subcategories. Number 1, fully flexible. Munsarifun. Everyone say munsarifun. Munsarifun. Okay, so most of your vocab falls under this, right? Waladun, waladan, waladin. Awladun, awladan, awladin. Sanamun, sanaman, sanamin. Asnamun, asnaman, asnamin. Do you understand how it's fully flexible? Right? It goes in all three states. Also under fully flexible, by the way, sanamani, sanamaini. Or Nadiruna, nadirina. Nadiratun, nadiratin. All of this falls under fully flexible. Okay? Then you have partly flexible. He gives you two terms, both are correct, both are used. Okay? I want you to memorize one, right? So it says the first one, the one that's closer to the left, I guess. Mamnu'un min as-sarfi. Mamnu'un min as-sarfi. I want you to memorize that one. The other one is ghayru munsarifin. It's technically right. If you want to memorize both terms, fine. But memorize at least one. If you can memorize one, memorize mamnu'un min as-sarfi. Mamnu'un min as-sarfi. On Wednesdays, what class do you have with Sheikh Aisha? Sarfun, right? You have sarfun. What is sarfun in English, Rama? Huh? Morphology. Sarfun is morphology, right? From the English of it, it morphs. Do you understand that? Yes? So when we say fully flexible and we say munsarifun, the root letters are sad, ra, and fa. It completely morphs. Waladun, waladan, waladin. You understand that? Okay. Number 2 says partly flexible. Mamnu'un min as-sarfi. Mamnu'un means something is prevented. Something is prevented. It can also mean like forbidden, but mamnu'un means something is prevented. What is it prevented from? Mamnu'un min as-sarfi. It's prevented from sarf. It's prevented from completely morphing. It morphs, but it just doesn't completely morph. Clear? I want you to understand why it has that terminology. Mamnu'un, it's prevented from sarf. Sarf is the ability to morph. Okay? But I want you to remember that it does morph, but it just doesn't fully morph. Okay? And he'll explain each one. Number 3, it says hidden flexible. Hidden flexible. Also, I refer to it as implied flexible. So you can put that next to it. Implied flexible. And the word for that is muqaddarun. Muqaddarun. Now, listen. It's very common for people to get muqaddarun. And remember, muqaddarun is a subtopic under what? No, i'rabun was a bigger topic. Under i'rab was mu'rabun. Under mu'rabun was? Are you guys following? I'rab was the bigger topic. Under it, you had mu'rabun and mabniyun. And then mu'rabun further divided. Is that clear? Yes? So let's try that. Muqaddarun is a subtopic under what? Mu'rabun. And mu'rabun is a subtopic under al-i'rab. Do we understand that? Okay. Now, people sometimes, at least initially, get muqaddarun and mabniyun confused. And it's normal. You'll see why when I give you muqaddarun example. But people get muqaddarun and mabniyun confused. Okay? One thing to remember is that مبني are generally categories of words, right? Like you gave the example of حروف الجر, categories, ضمائر, categories, أسماء الإشارة, categories. Clear? With the exception of the duals. Okay? مقدر are words. To you, you're like, what's the difference? Honestly, you're like, dude, why? They look like they're mabni at this point, right? But they just get classified grammatically as muqaddarun. They are implied or hidden flexible. What are some examples? Isa, you know any examples? Huh? No.
Kaslan,
Huh?
Kaslan,
Hmm.
Sadi.
I'll give you an example. Isa. Wherever you put that name in a sentence, it's gonna sound Isa. Can you say the same thing about Khalidun? No. Khalidun, Khalidan, Khalidin. You'll never say Isun, Isan, Isin. And anyone ever called you that? Never. Okay? Isa is an example. Any word that ends like that, alif makhsura, any word that ends like that, muqaddar. Isa, Musa, Musun, Musan, Musan, Musa. Clear? Right? Anywhere you place it. You remember last week I was teaching you mubtada'un and khabarun. As a mubtada'un, khabarun, they're both raf'un. Then you have like a verbal sentence. The fa'ilun is always in what state? Huh? Raf'un. The fa'ilun is always raf'un, right? And the maf'ulun bihi is always in what state? Nasbun. Remember that, right? ضرب عيسى محمد. Then Isa in this sentence is what? فاعل. Can you see that it is raf'un? No, you can't. Because the nature of that word. If you were to switch that sentence, Amira, if we make Muhammad the aggressor and Isa the victim, how would that sentence sound? Can't. No, Muhammad is the aggressor, Isa is the victim. ضرب محمد Isa. Did Isa change in any sentence? No, it didn't. Okay? So that's what we mean by muqaddarun. It's implied, it's hidden. Okay? When you label it, as we get later, it would be like, it'll just be like there's an implied dhamma there. Hidden, you don't see it. Clear? One second, guys, right? Similarities would be, also like if you had Musa, right? If you had Rama, what's the word for hospital in Arabic? Right? Look at words like this. Al-mustashfa always ends the same. Clear? Yes? Wait, guys, just hold on. Stop. Also words that end like this. Al-asa. Al-asa, staff. Right? Al-asa, ad-dunya. Okay. So the ya without the dots, is called in alifun maqsuratun. Alifun maqsuratun, right? And then the al-asa and ad-dunya ending, that is called Alifun mamdudatun. Alifun mamdudatun. Right? Linguistically, mamdudatun is that which is like extended or stretched out, right? So you see al-asa, ad-dunya, like it's indicating the way it's drawn, right? And then the ya without the dots is called alifun maqsuratun, that which is like cut short, deficient, right? Something like that. So any words that end in like that or like that, right, would automatically be considered muqaddaran, right? There's one more category. You haven't learned it. I'll introduce it later, right? But because it also deals with another concept, right? But that is muqaddarun. Clear? Yes. No, ila and ala are huruf jar. They're under the category of huruf jar. So they are mabniyun. That good? Yes? Okay. Okay. So we talked about fully flexible, right? Fully flexible is your base. When we go mu'rabun, fully flexible is the standard. Okay. Number 3, hidden flexible. I gave you 2 of the 3 categories. Either the alif maqsura ending or the alif mamduda ending. And then number 2 is partly flexible, mamnu'un min as-sarf, prevented from being fully flexible. Okay, it says, we will discuss partly flexible last because it requires the most attention. Fully flexible, munsarifun, is the default state for a word. It is the broadest category. A fully flexible word is a word that can show all 3 statuses in a normal way according to what we've learned in the Muslimun chart. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. Good? Hidden flexible. Words that are opposite of fully flexible. They can never show their status. This means they look the same in the raf'un status, the nasbun status, and the jarrun status. Words that end in alif, the ya without the dots is called alifun maqsura. The alif as a line, alifun mamduda, are hidden flexible and therefore look the same in all 3 statuses. Words like Musa, Hudan, Zakaria, for example, are hidden flexible. Hidden flexible endings all look the same. There is no way to distinguish them by looking at the word alone. You need context to tell that status. One of the examples that I gave you was Hudan. See it? Hudan, see the way that it's written, right? Hudan would be an example. You would never have Hudun or Hudin. Clear? Similarly, the plural for Qaryatun was Quran. Similarly, if you notice, if you can remember the box, right? It was Qaf, Ra, and then Alif Maqsura, and 2 fathas on the Ra, right? So Quran, you would never say Qurun, and you would never say Qu. Then it's always Quran. Clear? Because it's hidden flexible, right? Remember, the only difference between hidden flexible words and the other flexibility types is that they do not change form when they change status. Everything we studied under flexibility is mu'rabun and therefore can change status, right? So once again, hidden flexible, it changes status. You just don't see it. Clear? Muqaddarun words, they change status. You just don't see it. You can't visualize. Okay? Okay, now, partly flexible. Partly flexible. We good? We good, guys, or we need a break? We've been going for like 55 minutes. Do we need a break? Yes or no? Yes, we need a break. Okay, we need a break. It's 10:40. Don't be scared, guys. 10:41. Take a break till 10:50, and then we got 50 solid minutes. I need you to come back locked in. I know. Tell me about it. There's a few more that are left.
37? Oh, 39?
Okay, Bismillah. Maryam Khidr asked, she said, because we were talking about mu'rabun mabniyun, right? And what I mentioned under mabniyun was the dama'ir, all of the pronouns, the asma'ul ishara, except for the duals, hadani, hatani, dhanika, tanika. Clear? She said, can you also mention al-fi'l al-madi, right? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So just, I might mention this, Sheikh Aisha will teach you this, but when it comes to verbs, essentially you have three, right? You have al-fi'l al-madi, al-fi'l al-mudari', and al-fi'l al-amr. Clear? I don't think you've done amr yet, right? Which are command verbs, right? As for the masdarun, it's a verbal noun. It's a noun. Clear? So it's not a verb, but it's a verbal noun. It's a noun that's derived from the verb, or it's a noun from which the verb is derived, however you want to look at it. Got it? But that's a noun. Clear? So you have al-fi'l al-madi, al-fi'l al-mudari', al-fi'l al-amr. Al-fi'l al-madi, al-fi'l al-madi, and al-fi'l al-amr, right, are two more categories of mabniyun. Al-fi'l al-madi, past tense verbs, and al-fi'l al-amr, command verbs, are also categories of mabniyun. Clear? Al-fi'l al-mudari' is technically categorized under mu'rabun. You might be wondering why they all morph and stuff. You'll learn that later. Clear? But just as a categorization, madi, amr under mabniyun, and mudari' under mu'rabun. Okay, continuing. Partly flexible, he said words are that can only display their status in two ways. A partly flexible word can only take a dhamma and a fath. Once again, a partly flexible word can only take a dhamma, one, and a fatha. Remember the vocab words? Some of the plurals that you have seen only have one dhamma. Those words only have one dhamma because they are mamnu'un min as-sarf. Clear? Ashya'u. You mentioned earlier, masajidu, right? But they only have one dhamma, right? Because they are mamnu' min as-sarf, right? But that doesn't apply to the singular. For example, shay'un shay, an shay, in. As for ashya, you would either say ashya'u or ashya'a. That's it. Clear? He says a partly flexible word can never take tanween. Highlight that, underline that, do something with that. A partly flexible word can never take tanween. He's going to give you a bit categorization of words that are mamnu' min as-sarf, right? But a very easy one to remember is all feminine names. All feminine names. Does that make sense? So never ever would you say Maryamun, Maryaman, Maryamin. It's always either Maryamu or Maryama. Clear? All feminine names.
Do they call these diptotes?
Yes. The English of them is diptotes. And by hearing that, you can understand why I never use it. But yes. Yes, if you ever come across like the books that have been like translated, right, which are beneficial, but like the technical thing is diptotes.
So every
Feminine name, like the name of a person. Yeah.
Yeah. By default, it's going to be this.
Yeah. Right. Now pause for a second. Right. Let's say we can get really technical here, right? Let's say a girl's name is Iman. Okay. Now the word Iman is munsarifun. Imanun, imanan, imanin. Clear? But if we're talking about the person, right, then you would go with imanu and imana. Does that make sense? Right. So sometimes you run into that issue, right?
They don't do that with Hamza too, right?
Huh?
They say Hamza too, Hamza ta.
Yeah, so that's another category is We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it right now. Give me a second, guys. A partly flexible word can never ever take tanween. Highlight it. This type of word takes a single dhamma. This line is important as well. Highlight it. This type of word takes a single dhamma in the raf'un form, a single fatha in the nasbun form, and a single fatha in the jarrun form. So if it's in the state of raf'un, how many dhammas? One. If it's in the state of raf'un. If it's in the state of nasbun, it's going to take one fatha. And if it's in the state of jarrun, it's going to take one fatha. You know what's kind of like the opposite of this? There we go. What is kind of opposite like this, of this is Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim. Jam'ul Salim is not mabniyun. It is not mabniyun. But what I mean by the opposite, if you remember Jam'ul Mu'annath Salim, right? Sound feminine plural. Isa, give me an example. Abidatun, abidatin. Two dhammas in the state of raf'un. And then two kasras indicate nasbun or jarrun. Two kasras indicate nasbun or jarrun. Over here, the one fatha can either indicate nasbun or jarrun. We know what marfu'un, mansubun, majrurun is? Yes? Okay. At the top, first one, it says alamatun asliyatun. Everyone say alamatun asliyatun. So alamatun is a sign or an indication, right? And asliyatun is that which is like original and foundational. Original, foundational. Okay. So you can say alamatun asliyatun, original sign, original or foundational sign. And then alamatun far'iyatun is a secondary sign. Is a secondary sign. Far'iyatun comes from the word far'un, and far'un is a branch. Far'un is a branch. If you have a tree which is shajaratun, a far'un is a branch. Clear? So the asliya, I want you to think of it as the trunk of the tree, and the far'iyya, think of it as the branches of a tree. Clear? علامة أصلية علامة فرعية. Okay, now let's see if it gets answered. You have a question?
I just wanted to know the names again for
For what?
for alamatun asliyatun and alamatun far'iyatun.
The English names? Okay. So we said alamatun asliyatun. We can go with either foundational or original sign. And for alamatun far'iyatun, we'll go with secondary sign. Okay, so I already know I'm not going to have enough room, but okay, you'll see. مرفوع. What is the علامة أصلية? ضمة. Okay. Okay. What type of words that we have studied take a dhammatun when they are in a state of rafa? What type of words in Arabic that we have studied, right, take a dhamma when they're in the state of rafa? Huh? No. Think numbers. Huh?
مفرد.
Mufradun. That's where we start. Mufradun, right? How do you say one pen? Qala mun. You use dhammas, right? When we say dhamma, it doesn't matter two dhammas, one dhamma. We just if the sign is there, right? So, right? So I'm gonna say mufradun. Okay. What else, Isa? Jam'u taksirin, right? What's the plural of pen? Aqla mun. All broken plurals, they're going to use a dhamma, right? So we're going to go. Amira, is there anything else? Allah. جمع المؤنث السالم. جمع المؤنث السالم. عابدات. ناظرات. Okay. جمع المؤنث السالم. Okay. Okay. Now, under علامة فرعية, under العلامة فرعية for مرفوع سعد, what's the first one that we took in order? Huh? Secondary sign. So something that's in the state of rafa, but it's not going to use a dhamma, it's going to use something else. Before that. طيب.
Did he say Jules?
I don't think so. Did he?
Yeah, he said Jules.
He said plurals.
Oh,
You said duels? No, he's shaking his head, guys.
He said it.
He didn't say it, guys. You guys defending each other, but like, guys, this is how like animosity started. Y'all saying he said stuff, he didn't say stuff. Sardar still, Isa still doesn't believe Sardar said the right answer, okay? He literally looking at me, he said, I didn't say it, and you guys are like, he said it, he said, I'm like, looking at me. Okay, duels, right? Duels. Okay, good. What is the secondary sign? Al-alif. Notice he didn't mention the next letter because the next letter is always there, the noon, right? Al-alif. So under alama far'iyya, we're going to put al-alif. We'll spell it out. Al-alifu. Al-alifu. What uses al-alif? Al-muthanna. Anything that's dual, right? Qalamani. This is making sense? Yes, do you see it now? Noor, what type of word is al-muthanna? Insha? Rama? Huh? What was it? ممنوع من Amira? مقدر. It's مقدر. Remember, guys? Alif maqsura ending. Alif maqsura. What did I say? I said students often get confused between mabniyun and muqaddarun. Clear? In essence, like you and I looking at it from an outsider, we're not Arab, we're like, dude, word doesn't change. Like, why not? But okay, technically it's okay. Anyways, al-alifu, right? In a muthanna word. Okay. Then, Saad, what did you mention? But what is the alama far'iyya? That's a category. I know. But when you got now, what is the sign? Alif. This alif is with the dual. Yes, for the plural. It's the wow. Al-wawu.
That's how you spell wow.
Yeah. So in Arabic, basically any of the letters you can spell them out, right? I remember like one of the years I forgot to say that. They're like, Sheikh, what are you writing? They're like, Al-Ba'u. I was like, oh, that's the letter Ba spelled out, guys. You can spell out the letters. Al-Waw. Right? That's the letter Wow spelled out, right? And over here, you would simply put Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. No, it was just I was trying to save them. No, it's not connected. See, no. That and cap should not be connected. It's just I'm trying to see if I could squeeze that in. Okay. So obviously when you go into mansubun, your alamatun asliyatun is going to be fathatun. Fathatun. Fathatun, right? Fathatun, and you just the first three categories, you just copy and paste.
Yes.
It's not the same. Don't copy and paste, guys. Don't copy and paste. Siraj was saying no the whole time. He's shaking his head, and then he started shaking his head. Good. You don't copy and paste. You don't copy and paste. Now think about it. Let's right? Mufradun. Let's qalamun. What's it? Put fathas on it. Qala man. Okay. Qala man works. So you're gonna write mufradun. Right? Mufradun. Right? Mufradun. Okay. Jam'u taksir. What's jam'u taksir in English? Broken plural. What's the plural of tens? Aqla man. It works, right? Aqla man. Okay. So write jam'u taksir. So write mufrad, right? After that, jam'u taksir. Amira, where doesn't it work? Doesn't work with jam'u man salim. Do you ever say muslimatan, abidatan, nadiratan? Doesn't work. So don't copy it. Doesn't work. Got it?
It doesn't work with what?
It doesn't work with jam'ul mu'annath salim, the sound feminine plural. Because the sound feminine plural will never ever take fathas. Whether it's two or one, it will never ever take fathas. Right? So you're only copying mufradun and jam'u taksirin. Okay. Now we got the far'iyya signs. Now you gotta focus a little bit. Okay. So, what's the first thing Siraj will start with?
Yeah.
Good. So you're right. Al-ya'u. Al-ya'u. Okay, and Siraj, what's the first category you put under al-ya'u? Al-muthanna, right? Al-muthanna. Muslimaini. Muslimaini. Don't say mina, right? Musli, not yet at least. Muslimaini, right? Abi, daini. Nadi, raini. So the first thing that you'll put is al-muthanna. What's the next thing, Grant?
Jamul Mudakkaris Jamu Muannathis Salim.
Sardar?
Oh, I don't agree with that.
What do you agree? Tell me what's the answer. He was saying Jamal Mudhakkar Salim. You were shaking your head. Then he said Jamal Mudhakkar Salim. I don't know if you shook your head.
Yeah.
So what's the answer? Or is there?
Two are not correct, but I don't they're not correct.
Abdurrahman. Think about it. Okay, that's fine. Muhammad? No. DJ. Saad.
Yeah.
Sha. Amira.
There's
Is it Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim?
It would be Jamal Mudhakkar Salim. Guys, Muslimuna and Muslimina. Yes? Yes, Nadiruna, Nadi. Dina, your first answer was right. Like, you were just shaking your head. So it's right. Yes? Guys, Nadiruna. What tells you it's in the state of Rafa? What letter? Nadiruna. What letter tells you it's in the state of Rafa? And didn't we write wow, al-Jam' al-Mudhakkar Salim? And then you go Nadirina. What letter tells you it's in the state of Nasb? The ya, correct? So after al-Muthanna, put Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. Put Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. Looking for looking alama far'iyya, secondary sign, al-ya, anything, any category of words that will fall under. So the first was dual. Now, right? We're gonna go Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. Is there anything else that falls under it? So we're done with yeah. We're done with yeah. I just, you guys can write it in, but over here will be the ... will be Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. So Rama, she said, secondary sign is al-kasratu. What in God's name is she talking about, Amira? Yeah, Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim. Right? Muslima, tin. Abida, tin. Nadira, tin. Remember we said anything that's tin with nothing before it, after it, right? Free of all constrictions, then it's either mansubun or majrurun. No, because the fatha is alama asliya. You'll see it when we're done. I know what you're saying. You'll see it when we're done. Here's an okay. We said females in. Let's use Maryam, right? Put Maryam in the state of Rafa. Good. What did you use? Huh? Dhamma. Put Maryam in the state of Nasb. What did you use? Fatha. Maryam is under Mufradun. You will see Jam'u Taksir come. Mamnu' min as-sarf come. You'll see it. No. Muqaddar is not. That's under alama. It's right there. It's there. All these questions are normal, by the way. Like, you'll begin to see it. I'm positive about this, right? So al-kasra, what was under al-kasra? Jam'u al-muannath salim, right? If I said, hey, give me a sound feminine plural in the state of nasb, in chat you would say? Huh? Tin. Amira, you would say? Different word? Abidatin. Rama, you would say? Qanitatin. Isa, you would say? Khadijatin, right? Right? So al-kasra is a secondary sign of something being in the state of nasb. But when do you specifically use a kasra to show that something is in the state of nasb? When we're talking about jam'ul mu'annath salim. Eleven 23, guys. Jam'ul mu'annath salim. Okay, quickly. Majrurun. Salma, what is the alama tun asliya tun? Kasratun. Okay, so Salma, really quickly. Look at the top, look at dhammatun. Dhammatun. How many categories do we have? 3, right? Fathatun, how many categories? 2. Kasratun, how many categories? Don't answer. Think about it. Which one are you eliminating? Give me the word. Give me a Jam'ul mu'annath salim example. Just give me a Jam'ul mu'annath salim example. Huh?
Tin.
Do you guys see it? Yes, picking up on it? So how many categories? 3, right? So what are the 3 categories? Mufradun, give me an example. Kitabin, got it? Mufradun, goes there. Kitabin. Okay, what's the second category? Jam'u taksirin, give me an example. Aqlamin, or you could have went kutubin, right? Aqlamin, kutubin, works, right? And then what's the third category? Jam'ul mu'annath salim, give me a sajidatin, right? So all 3 categories, right? I'm just gonna be lazy and say okay. All 3, okay? All 3 make it in. Are we good? All right. 11:25, guys, stick with me. 11:25, we're almost done. Okay. Isa, secondary signs. What do we start with? And what 2 categories do we mention? Give me an example. Kita, Baini. Good. Aliya. And what else? Jam'ul mudhakkar salim, right? So once again, right? Same as the box above. Same as the box above. Noor, there is one thing left in that box. So we got al-ya, we got al-muthanna, and we got jam'a mudhakkar salim. There's one thing left in that box. Kasra will go under this category. Amira, do you know? You do know? Don't say it. You know? Tayyib, do you know? Don't say it. Do you know?
I'm just as lost as you.
Oh, okay. Good. And you're in a good place. It's week 4 is good. What should be lost? Siraj, do you know? Don't say the answer. Huh? You do know? Grant, do you know? You don't know? Salma, do you know? You think you know? Amira, what is it? Fathatun, was that your answer? What was your answer?
No, I was just gonna.
What was your answer?
I was just gonna say.
What was your answer?
I agree.
Fathatun.
I agree.
Fathatun.
I was just gonna say, Grant just learned there's a high and
Fathatun. Isa, this is where your mind was. Yeah, ممنوع من الصرف. Rama, put the word Maryamu in a state of jarrun. Maryama. Good. Maryama. Amira, put the name Aishatu in a state of jar. Aisha. Ta. Clear? Put the name Siraj Khadijatu in a state of jar. Khadija. Ta. Therefore, one of our secondary signs of something being in a state of jar is a fatha, right? But when specifically would we use it? When we're dealing with a mamnu'un min as-sarf word in the state of jar. If you feel lost, honestly, don't worry about it. It'll all make sense, I promise. This is all information that you have learned. It's just categorized differently. It's just structured differently. You're just looking at it differently. So it feels like, oh my God, well, I don't know what's going on. No, you know all of this stuff. You just know it in a different way. I didn't really teach anything new right now. I simply just boxed it differently, right? And I included what we just read about Jam'u Taksir. But I didn't introduce anything new except what we just read from Jam'u Taksir, and I made sure to put it in the what we just learned from Mamnu' min as-sarf, right? And I put it was the last thing that came up. Everything else, you know, it was just structured differently. It's a different way of looking at it. Good? All right. We will see you all tomorrow, inshallah. Please review your vocab. Please review your vocab. And everything else we've taken. You guys good online? It'll make sense, but I promise.
جزاك خيرا.
Why are we not putting?
I have a question.
Because good. Ismu jam'in is a mufrad word with a plural meaning. Does that make sense? Yeah. So simple example, qawmun or nasun, ismu jam'in. It's plural by meaning, but it's a singular word. So it's gonna fall under mufrad. So qawmun, qawman, qawmin, right? So mufrad came all the way down, right? Nasun, nasan, nas.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the word like bintan, مثلا, Me. I'm asking a question. For the word like bintan,
Sorry, your audio is
that's
not clear.
muthanna, right?
Maryam, your audio is not clear.
Is it better now?
Students are kind of loud when they're leaving. Let's see, did you type it?
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. For a word like bintan, right? That's muthanna. Wouldn't the alif like fall under mansub
Say it
as
again.
a wouldn't the alif fall under mansub?
Yes, but the situation in which it falls under mansub we haven't taken yet. The situation under which
okay.
it falls under mansub is al-asma'ul khamsa, and we haven't taken
Okay.
khamsa. So I restricted this chart to that which we've taken.
Got it.
Right. But yes, al-alif will also fall under mansub when we study al-asma'ul khamsa. And then under the waw, you'll put al-asma'ul khamsa for the raf'un, and then even in majrurun under ya, you'll put al-asma'ul khamsa. But we haven't taken that concept, therefore I didn't mention it.
Got it. Thank you.
Was that it, Maryam?
I just said thank you.
Sorry?
I just said thank you. That's all.
Okay. Barakallahu feek. You're welcome. Assalamu alaikum.